Wow. Well, I hope everybody's doing well on this cold Sunday. Well, thank you. I finally got it cut. Like, I went to an actual barber because normally I just go to like one of the big box haircut places, and um, somebody at work recommended somebody to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I was in the chair for like an hour. Like, he was very thorough. So which is good because it was like $45. So ooh, excuse me. You won't go to a barber, or you won't go to like a big box place? Or do you just like cut your own hair? Let's see. There we go. Mm, yeah. It's a risk excuse me, it's a risk you always run. I'm getting over a little bit of a throat thing, so pardon me if my voice is a little messed up, but yeah, it's just the good thing is hair grows back, I guess, but normally it's just sort of a roll of the dice, which has nothing to do with plants, unless it's a chia plant or chia pet. I mean, you're not wrong. They really are, especially if you don't know what plant you're getting and you just kind of bring a random plant home. It really is just kind of a gamble on whether or not the thing will survive. I mean, all we can do is apply the skills that we have from raising other plants and, hope for the best. Buenas noches, leaves, thorns, and flowers. Um, Hope you're doing well. ¿Cómo estás? Oh, well, ¿cómo está usted? I guess I should say. Hey, there's Carlos. Buenas noches, Carlos. Glad you could make it. Gracias. Estoy aprendiendo, but it's a process. It takes time for sure. Actually, Carlos is the one helping me learn. Well, he's not the only one helping me learn, but he's definitely one of the better ones. Now, see, I need to start learning some plant vocabulary in Espanol, other than plantas. So in college, I studied French. I minored in French because in high school I took 4 years of French, mostly because everybody was taking Spanish and I wanted to be different. And my mom was like, well, I took French, maybe you should take French too. And I'm like, okay. So I just kind of rolled with it, and I'm glad I did, and I will always have an appreciation for French, but I never use it, and I've lost a lot of it just because when you learn a new language, you have to continue to practice it. Again, none of this has to do with plants, but like, but Spanish is more practical, and as an adult, I kind of understand that now, so I'm trying to learn. But I've always heard that learning your third language is easier than learning your second because you have like a deeper understanding of how grammar and concepts are put together. I really should start a language channel too. Where's Dragonite at? Dragonite's always trying to get me to start new channels. And Spanish is a beautiful language. La langue de français, très belle. Yeah, most plant names actually come from Latin. You might occasionally get some Greek in there, but most of the time it's Latin. Well, aside from when something is named like after somebody, you know, like Strelitzia is named after, um, was it a queen or something? I think Strelitzia was named after a queen or somebody's wife. But yeah. Ah, Christian. Uh, oh, yeah. Christian say français. He knows French. Yeah, scientists have a sense of humor with some naming. Stargazer says, hello, you have done a video and also mentioned suburban lawn and garden in Kansas City. Is that where you're located? I'm in a small town east of Kansas City. No, I'm actually further west into Kansas. Uh, but I frequent Kansas City probably once a month or twice a month. Kansas City, if anybody's ever in the area, I know like, oh man, Ricky. I know Ricky's probably not watching, but Ricky is in a state close to me as well. If you ever get the chance to go to Kansas City, they do have some really good greenhouses. And I've been trying to make more videos as I'm kind of exploring these places. But I have some other videos in the works where I'm actually going to maybe tour some of these places and get some interviews and things. Um, but yeah. Uh, but the suburban lawn and garden I went to recently was the one on Row Avenue, and it's the smaller one. There's also one further south on State Line Road, and it's really nice. And then there's one in Lenexa, Kansas, and it's pretty nice too. And then Christian says I have to visit botanical gardens. I agree. I agree. Whenever the weather starts to get nicer, I'm going to do that. And actually, I have this tradition where we have a zoo here, and they have a big rainforest dome, and there's actually quite a few plants in there that are normally house plants, and they have gotten quite large just because they are in a more ideal environment. So I'd actually like to go and take you guys there and do a video there because when it gets really nasty in the wintertime and I start to get depressed, I'm like, I need to go be around green things. And of course, there's birds and stuff in there and bats, and it's very tranquil. So I'll do that. I'm actually going to do a video about that. And then, uh, oh, it's Elenita from Puerto Rico. We can start my own channel. I guess it will be in Spanish or Spanglish. Okay. You know, it's funny you mentioned Spanglish because a lot of the people that I work with are they're either first generation or they kind of were born speaking Spanish but grew up speaking English. So now because of that, they don't necessarily have a mastery of either, and they end up just kind of they just kind of end up speaking both average. Does that make sense? Uh, and you know, when two languages exist next to each other, they kind of adopt things from each other. So I've noticed in Spanish things like troca, you know, kind of replace the word camion for truck here in America, or you say lonche instead of almuerzo, you know. But anyway, uh, Wes, we did do a video in the botanical garden, but I think that may have been on the original version of this channel that nobody knows about. Uh, I don't think we've done a video in there for this channel. Botanical gardens are good for seeing how our plants should be while indoors. Yeah, in an ideal world. I mean, the only thing about that is, Christian, there's just certain plants that are not going to get that big. Like, just because, either because of space issues or lighting or humidity. And when I take you inside this place, there's literally like Ficus literata that are tree sized. maybe not as big as they'll be in the wild because they have to trim them every now and then to keep them from getting too big. But it's still really cool just to see these big, what else is in there? I know there's a Benjamina in there, there's a Lorata, there's a Ficus religiosa, which a lot of you guys may not have heard of. Um, and to see these trunks of these trees that are so different from the trees that we have in North America, it's just really interesting to me. Like, it's interesting to be able to, like, touch that. I do mention ficus a lot. The thing is, they have a lot of ficus in there, just because ficus are easy to grow as trees. But yeah, also ficus is my favorite genus, probably. I don't know. I like Syndapsis a lot too, and Aspidistra, but ficus is probably still my favorite. Mushing it together. Yeah. Does Wes appear in any of your videos? He came on a live stream once. I think like a month ago. He was on live stream just for a few minutes while we were trying to figure out some technical things. But yeah, he'll probably make more appearances before long. And he's sort of like absorbed plant knowledge through me. So when we go like plant shopping, like he has a pretty good eye of seeing things that are unusual or rare or different from things that we've owned. So I can rely on him for that. Actually, the only reason I have this dark form Syndapsis is because he's the one that spotted it. No, I don't know about unlocking those original videos. There were only 5, and they were rudimentary at best. Even my even my older videos on this channel, I go back and watch, and I'm like, man, I could just tell that I was a little more uncomfortable than I am now, just because I was just getting started. But that's okay. But those videos are from probably 4 or 5 years ago. Like, yeah, like we weren't even living in a house; we were living in an apartment at the time. And my plant collection was much smaller than it is now. Speaking of Spanish, I'm drinking the Mexican cola Jarritos, which are amazing. The t-shirt saga. Now, if I remember correctly, you are talking about some of the t-shirts I used to wear that would like sag really bad because I'd have my mic pretty far up. Yeah, I stopped wearing those shirts. I still wear them to work, but I don't wear them on channels anymore. The thing is, like, I don't know, I don't really know how many clothes that most people have, but I have probably 20 or 30 shirts, and they're just the shirts I've had, for a long time. Like, I don't go clothes shopping regularly just because, if you take care of your stuff. But I mean, eventually it wears out, but I don't know. Here, let me actually show some plants. Like, so far, we've been on here for a while. I should show some plants. So I've gotten a few plants recently, and chime in if you have any questions or you guys want to say something. But I've gotten a few plants recently. I've gotten rid of some recently too, but let's see. I have this little network calathea. I think it's still Calathea. It could be Goapertia because there's been a lot of movement between those two genera. But yeah, I found this for like $6, like, which is pretty good for this. You don't really see these that much anymore, or at least I don't. For a while, Costa Farms was only manufacturing them, well, growing them in their like trending tropicals collection, so they were kind of hard to find. But I don't know why this one was just sitting at the grocery store, but I just thought it was really pretty. And these, I've had one before. These actually hold up to neglect better than most Calatheas or Goapertias. Like they don't quite brown as easily. And I don't really know why that is. I don't know if it's because it's maybe possibly a hybrid. But yeah, you can kind of see on those leaves, like the design in those leaves. It's pretty cool. It's almost it's almost mechanical somehow or like artificial, but oh yeah, Wes is working on a shop for the channel. We're gonna have some t-shirts and stuff that you guys um, you know are going to have access to. So yeah, we've kind of had that in the works for a little bit, but I had some trouble kind of getting it going. But we're almost done. We're almost there with it. I don't know why, but when I eat Cheerios, I swear I just want to burp. It's just annoying. But oh, and on that Calathea, I do have some new growth on it. Do have some new leaves coming in on it. So one weird thing I found that's kind of bizarre. I found this, and this is an Epiprimnum giganteum, which I've never actually heard of. I really only think about Epiprimnum, and I think Aureum, which is like the regular pothos, Palladium, which is kind of the pothos has the longer leaves, and then Aplissimum, which is like the silver streak pothos. But this was Giganteum, so I don't know if that's an actual species, but I went ahead and bought it because it's almost completely white, and the leaves are very elongated, which I kind of like. Um, I normally don't buy plants that are this small when they're this variegated because I start to get nervous. Because I've had a lot of variegated plants like this, the variegated parts will actually turn brown, and I just don't want to lose it. Like I think if I can get it to grow big, it'll be pretty cool. But sometimes variegated plants, when they're this variegated, have a little bit of trouble thriving, like surviving. The last GO I had no chance of survival. It began dying right away. Oh, yeah, yeah. I had an orbifolia, a Goapertia orbifolia, and it was doing well for a while, but then winter hits and the air's dry, and it just started getting brown, and I gave it away because I'm just like I'm done. I just don't want to mess with that. They're beautiful, but I But Elenita, if you're in Puerto Rico, that's like the ideal place to grow that kind of stuff. Like you could probably sit that outside and the humidity would just be so beautiful for it. Yeah. Well, and Christian, when you say geo, what do you mean? Were you talking about like Goapertier? What did you mean when you said geo? Where is, oh, how am I going to get that over here? Okay. Well, because when you said geo, I thought maybe you meant Geogenanthus, which is also a nightmare, but it's fine. I don't know. I don't know anybody that's actually had success with Geogenanthus. Like somebody stop me if you actually have. But Geogenanthus, the closest relative to Geogenanthus is Tradescantia. They're both in the same family, which is I think Camelinaceae. But it's just funny because Tradescantia is so easy to grow, but Geogenanthus, it's just a combination of the proper watering and humidity that kind of keeps them from starting to turn brown. Unfortunately, because it's a pretty cool plant, but they're just kind of difficult to take care of. I mean, I would put Geogenanthus in the same group as like maybe Homalamina, because it just doesn't seem no matter what you do, you just can't get them to survive. Yeah, I know a lot of people that love Tradescantia, but it definitely over time it starts to just not look so nice. And you can propagate it and make a whole new plant, and it's so, some of them are so beautiful too. There's some really beautiful light purple varieties of Tradescantia, and then there's an albo variety. I can't think of what the actual name is, but it's like light green with beautiful white stripes on it. I had one for a while and it just started getting leggy, and I'm just like, I don't think they're super long lived either, but in theory, you can just have them go on forever because you could just keep propagating, and you know, they're kind of immortal like that. One plant that I got recently, actually, I got this. When did we go to? When did we go to Kansas City? Was it Wednesday or Thursday? I found this in Kansas City Thursday, and you guys might not know what it is, and it's big, but I'm gonna see if any of you can guess what this is. I feel like Christian will probably guess what it is, but I want to see if you guys. Oh, well, of course it's an ivy. You gotta be more specific than that. If I can sit it here without it being in the way. Oh, Christian, you're so close. Oh, Stargazer says albo fetata for that Tradescantia. That might be it. Although, but I've heard it called something else. I just can't remember what it was. Okay, so this is Hedera. This is in the genus Hedera, but this is Hedera um, al. Oh, I already forgot the species name. It's Algerinensis. Somebody look it up. It's the Algerian ivy, is what it is. But it's also sometimes referred to as the Canary ivy because, like Algeria and the Canary Islands, it's all kind of in the same place. And I didn't even know that this plant existed. Really, I always thought Hedera. It was just always Hedera helix, which is the English ivy. And I've talked some crap about English ivy on this channel, and it's not like the worst plant. It's just sometimes they can be a little finicky and they get spider mites really easily because they're in the family Araliaceae, and most plants that are in Araliaceae get spider mites so easily. And I may run that risk with this plant, but I love how big the leaves are. Like, I mean, it's just like a Hedera helix on steroids or something because they're just gigantic leaves. And I like how dark they are. I think there's a variegated form of this too, but somebody here, I've got my other phone here so I can look stuff up. Algerian ivy. So yeah, there's two species names for it: Algerianensis and Canarianensis. Just because you could hear it called either one, but still pretty cool. Um, we'll see. We'll see how it does. It should do fine. I need to clean the leaves, but yeah, it's already kind of unruly, and Wes hates when I pick up unruly plants. He's like, it's already like starting to spill over, and it's just. But I don't know. I love it. Like, I love that it's already starting to get kind of long and out of control. There's definitely a limit. Like, I like unruly plants too, but it depends on what it is and how unruly it's getting. Um, if it starts like taking over, I'm like, okay, you're getting cut because I'm over it. But where is? Let me grab. Okay, let me grab my other one. So this is my basket of English ivy, and it's kind of a mixture because I got most of this for like $2 because it was marked down. So a lot of the ones that are this white variegation in here, they were already in this basket, but I've added a couple to it. I've added one that has a little bit of yellow variegation in the middle, and I also have a different green one like right here. So it's just kind of a big basket, and I mean, it's pretty. I mean, I love the way ivy grows like this because, you know, ivy's kind of a crawler, and but you can even see there's starting to be just a little bit of brown, like right here, because ivy is just one of those plants. Let's move this. Ivy is just one of those plants that it needs to be kept not quite consistently moist, but it doesn't really like to dry out. And it needs supplemental humidity a little bit, and you need to kind of shower it because otherwise it'll get spider mites, and it's just, I don't know, it can be kind of a pain. Christian says one of my Syngoniums has to be tied to the wall because it's getting so unruly. Yeah, and the variegated ivy. It's interesting just how many variegated plants can actually revert. And normally if I see a new variegated plant, I'll try to ask somebody there. I'm like, what's like the reversion rate on this? Like, is it going to revert if it doesn't get absolute, you know, perfect light? But I haven't been having very good luck with Syngoniums lately. Like the Syngoniums I they haven't been doing well. Probably because, you know, it's winter and the air's dry, and I don't know. I'm trying to supplement with humidifiers, but I don't know. Some plants still just have trouble with it, so I don't know. So wait, do you not like variegation at all? Okay. 10 years old for an ivy? I lost my drink. There it is. There's definitely a difference between variegation that's caused by like the mutation and then plants that just have a leaf pattern on them, like Syndapsis pictus, which just has those silver, you know, um, the silver, what are they called? The blister variegation. That's not like actually variegated, but it's like airspace in between the layers of the leaf. I think I don't know what kind of variegation like the Milky Way cast iron plant is, like the Aspidistra, but yeah. No, get out of there, please. Come here. Come here, Merlin. These cats are always getting into stuff. Stargazer says, I have a 30-year-old Dracaena that my husband had when I moved in with him. Dang. That is impressive. So what kind of Dracaena is it? Like, it's okay if you don't know the species, but is it like one of the dragon tree Dracaenas that gets like tall and skinny, or is it like Sansevieria Dracaena? Oh, okay. Yeah, I like the dragon tree. I think I've only ever had one, and it didn't get like too big before I just kind of got bored with it. But it was the one that has like the maroon margins. I think isn't it actually called Dracaena like marginata? I think is the species name. But there's like a pink one and a red one, and there may be another one, but yeah. Yeah, Elenita, that's actually smart. I mean, we waited for a while to buy our Thai constellation just because they were so outrageous, probably 3 years ago. And when we bought ours, it was like 100, which probably is still too much, but yeah. Oh, okay. Really? Like it's a tree like outside though? I mean, that would make sense because, you're in the perfect place to grow stuff like that. I wish I could. I swear, one of these days, in the future, I wanna get a house in like southern Florida and just have my backyard be full of all kinds of crazy stuff that I can. Of course, I say that, and then it'll get blown away by a hurricane or something. So, or I'll get eaten by an alligator. So speaking of that, well, not the whip away, although I've seen the whip away, and I really want one, but like you said, I'm not really willing to pay like crazy amounts for it. I've also been wanting. There's a Synapsis, what is it, Maori, and I want something bigger than like a cutting. Um, and the only ones I ever see are cuttings, and they're just kind of expensive, and I don't really do cuttings. So, but speaking of kind of like looking at like other people's plants and things, what I want to do is I want to start to feature some of your guys' plants on the channel. And I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to make an email for the channel, and maybe like once a week or something, if you guys send me a picture of a really cool plant you have, I'll feature it on the channel, because I keep saying that I want to see what you guys have, and I haven't been able to find like a good way to do that yet, and I think this is how I'm going to do it. So I'll keep you guys posted on that, so that, you know, if you have some really cool plants, I want to see them, and then you'll get to see them on the channel. I thought that might be fun. Hang on, let me see what you guys are saying here. Convince my husband to expand out the sunroom to fit more plants. We are headed for our third expansion this spring. Oh, Steven, I'm so jealous, because the house we live in, it's in an HOA right now, so we actually don't have any space to expand or anything. I mean, we can do whatever we want with the house, but it's just there's literally no room to expand anything. So if I was going to do that, if I was going to spend the money on an expansion, I'd want it to be on a house I really love. Well, of course, I would also need the room. Well, Christian, you don't have to send all 100 of them. Just pick a couple of your favorites, and then, you know, we'll go from there. Maori, that's how you say it, I think. Maori. I always wanted something like a sun porch, like something where I can actually sit plants out into like a glass enclosure that's still attached to the house, so you don't have to like operate it like a greenhouse. But I haven't found that house yet. But trust me, when we look at buying another house, because I just don't think we're going to be in this house forever, when we do that, I'm going to make sure that I have that this time. Because I think this is our third house we've lived in, and none of our houses have really had good windows. Well, I guess the first one did. The first one had good windows, but I only had like 10 plants then. Come here, Merlin. Come here, Merlin. Oh, come here, boy. I'm gonna try to catch my cat. Oh, come here. Come here, boy. Oh, what a good boy. Oh, there he is. Oh, there's my big Fluffy. Ah, the big Fluff, huh? This is Merlin. He's our youngest. He's a little over a year old. Actually, he's like a year and a half now. Oh, you're getting big so quick. Look at how big you are now. Okay, come on. Come up here. Come here. No, lay down. Okay. No, we can't do that. I'm gonna put you down. Oh. Okay. Ugh. Long-haired cats, I swear. Okay, let's see. Ellen is asking, how do you pick a favorite from your children? You lower your voice so leaves don't fall. Yeah. Especially if you're around a Ficus benjamina, because they just like to drop leaves just for fun. Steven says, someone asked me how many plants I had, so I started walking around the house, but I stopped counting when I got to 300. Wow. That's crazy. That's a lot of plants. And I was overwhelmed with 100. Hey, Leaf Year. It's good to see you again. Yeah, he's a cutie. He's still trying to figure out who he is and his personality. So it's been fun kind of watching him explore. He like copies the other cats too. Like he kind of tries to imitate them, and I don't know. He's adorable. So 300, like the only thing that bothers me about having so many plants, and Christy and I have talked about this, it's just I don't like watering that much. And like I've considered the idea of doing some sort of irrigation system, but I, I actually I actually enjoy the process of watering. Like I enjoy the connection you have to the plant of like taking care of it one on one and like spending those few moments together. But the problem is when you have so many, for me, not for you guys, but when I have so many, like I feel like I don't get to spend that time with each plant like I should, and it starts to feel more like an obligation. I say that because I also have to work a lot and I have like other stuff going on, and I can't always devote the amount of time to my plants that I need. So I find myself trying to hover between like 60 and 70. Like right now, I think I'm under 70, but I don't know exactly how much. Oh, oh yeah. I haven't really looked at the Planta app. Maybe I should. Like I just sometimes I'm skeptical of stuff like that just because I use like an identifier app for when I'm outside and like I find interesting things. But even when I go to a greenhouse sometimes and I'll try to identify a plant that maybe doesn't have a label, it'll try to say something absurd. Like if I scanned this ivy, it would come up as a peace lily or something. It's like, no, that's not correct. Leaf Year says, if several plants are in one pot, does it count as one plant? I think it counts as one plant if you're talking about the number of plants that you're watering. Now, if you're counting the number of like genera you have, which I know sounds weird, but I do that. Like I can tell you how many genera of plants I have versus how many actual plants I have, like pots. But yeah, like I have that succulent planter that has 3 different genera in it, and so yeah, okay, Christian counts species. I haven't counted species. It would definitely be more because I have, I think, 6 or 7 ficus, different species of ficus. So that's like the plant I have the most of. And yeah, Christian, you're right. I mean, aquatic plants, it's all nice and compact, right? Elenita says, never counted mine. But most of my outside gardens take care by themselves. Yeah, that's the nice thing about living someplace like that where you can leave a lot of your plants outside basically all year long and not have to worry about them. I'm envious of that. Really? Christian says that he has more species and I have more genera. Let me think. How many genera do I have right now? I think I have about 60 or 61. Uh, this wasn't a new one. The Epiprimnum wasn't a new one. The Gopertia wasn't a new one. So yeah, it's probably about 60. Let's just say that. And the number of species, I mean, I guess I don't have any duplicate species, so that's probably still maybe around 70. And I know Christian has over 100 plants. Which means you probably have like maybe a lot of philodendrons or maybe a lot of epiprimnums or sangoniums or something that's like really collectible, peperomias. Around 30s. Okay. Peperomia is a little weird for me. Like, not the plant itself, I love peperomia, but the plural of peperomia, right? Like, it just feels weird because Some words that end in A are the plural, like bacteria, like, but there could just be one bacterium, just, I don't know. Or mitochondria and then mitochondrion. I go for species if the other one did well. Oh, okay. Planaria. I don't even think I've heard of planaria. Ooh. I mean, Elenita, like, I, I don't know. Like, I have mixed feelings about peperomia just because the species within it are so different from each other that some of them are really easy and some of them are a little more difficult. Like raindrop peperomia, the Peperomia polybotra. It's just like I can never get that thing to thrive. But then the peperomia I have now is somewhere. Where's it at? I don't know. It's back there someplace. It's an obtusifolia, and those are usually pretty easy. Like they get big and then they start to like tip over, and then I'm not sure what to do with them after that. But polybotra is just a lot harder. I don't know why. Or some of the vining peperomias. I don't know. Oh, oh, yeah, Kristen. Yeah. For some reason, I thought you were talking about an actual plant because it looks a little like. Yeah, you're right. Planaria, isn't it like planarium? I don't know if you spelled it right because I'm not a microbiologist, but like, yeah, planarium, I think is singular. Just there's some bizarre things in English like that. Of course, it's because that stuff probably comes from another language, but like the plural for vortex is vortices, and we just don't really think about that. But uh, vortexes is not really a word. Hang on, let me catch up here. Steven says, my turning point was when I stopped caring too much if a plant failed. If a plant too specific needs, I can't meet them, then toss it in. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so like you don't want to put a bunch of energy into a plant that you're not having success with, basically, is kind of what you're saying. Like if it's not going to do well and you're just not having good luck with it, like move on and get something that you are good with. I can respect that. But maybe once a year, if I've had bad luck with something, I'll try it again. Just because I'm a glutton for punishment. I almost I almost bought a Hamalomena the other day. Like when I made that short about those pink Hamalomenas, I'm like, I really want one, but it was $30. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna pay that much for a plant that I'm probably gonna kill. If it had been like $15, I would have done it. But lately, I've been wanting to give another shot to Fatsia. If you guys have ever heard of Fatsia japonica, which is like the true Aurelia, I believe. Um, Basically, if I show you guys a picture of one, you'll get spider mites because they get spider mites easier than any other plant I've ever owned, other than maybe gardenia. Gardenia gets spider mites really easily too. But I just want to try it again because they're very beautiful plants, and there are some amazing variegation styles with Fatsia, and they can get really big and like bushy, kind of like the umbrella tree, which is also an Aurelia, which Schefflera is the genus name. Yeah, I don't know, and Schefflera and I don't get along at all. Like the leaves on any Schefflera I've ever owned just fall off and the thing dies. It's just a nightmare. Okay, sorry, I'm catching up, guys, I swear. Default asks, can you give advice about Hoyas? I have a Hoya elliptica that's pushing leaves just fine and growing long vines, but are soft and thin. I can't figure out what's happening. If they're if they're soft and thin, I'd have to look up elliptica because Hoyas are not necessarily my specialty, and I know that a lot of people love Hoyas. Um, but normally it sounds like it's coming in like leggy growth, like maybe it's not getting enough light. I don't know if you have it under a grow light or if you have it like in a sunny window or something. And Christian and Ellie need to hold on to their plants until the very bitter end. You guys are much braver than me. Oh, it's in full sunlight. I wonder if you're giving it. Well, if it was getting too much light, you would know because it would probably be getting like sunburn. But I wonder if you're giving it enough water. Like, I wonder, because I mean, Hoyas like to dry out, but I mean, if it's getting full sun, it's probably going to take more water than normal. Or what kind of pot you have it in. You know, if you have it in a terracotta pot, that's going to dry out faster than if you have it like in a plastic pot, which isn't a bad thing if it dries out faster. But yeah, Christian's right. They do get stressed from repotting. Hoya is one of those rare plants that they don't really like their roots messed with to the point where they will actually show signs of suffering when you repot them. Most plants are pretty easygoing. Like some people I think are just too careful with their roots. It's like it's fine. Like they're gonna be fine. But Hoya is one of those ones where you do actually have to be careful, um, just because they don't like them messed with. It's like a human having their toes messed with. Maybe they don't like that. Like they just, they're ticklish or whatever. Speaking of Hoyas, uh, I have I have this Hoya multiflora, and I've showed you guys this plant a couple of times since I got it, but it's doing fine. But it's got these flowers on it, and they have not bloomed yet. If you guys can see the little inflorescence right there, they are so close to blooming, and it's just not happening yet. I was hoping it would happen for this live stream, but yeah. Well, the soil's still pretty wet too. That's good. I'm just so excited because I've never seen one of these flower before, and I was told that it'll smell really good when it happens. The other Hoya I have is right there, and it's an obovata. And I just fell in love with the big, round, thick leaves of an obovata and that kind of speckled variegation. Like, I just, like I said, I've never been super into Hoyas, but that was one of the ones that I was like, okay, I've got to have this plant. It's too nice. Could be stretching me, yeah. And then default says once a week. It's in a plastic pot. I potted it 6 months ago, but I'll keep hope if it's still alive, I guess. Love them too. In my wish list. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I've seen some Hoya that are very finicky, and there's like a sect almost of plant enthusiasts that are in love with Hoyas, and they like those really challenging ones. I've just never been into that, but the ones I have are really easygoing. So if you don't have a Hoya and you're looking to get into one, the obovata especially has been nothing but good to me. Like I don't think it's ever lost a leaf, and it flowered. It flowered. I think it flowered in autumn, and it put out this beautiful. I think it's a raceme. Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that flower group is called a raceme, and it was a beautiful like baby pink flower that smelled amazing. And it wasn't really like strongly scented. It was just enough that it was like, wow, that nature is incredible. Peduncle. I was thinking peduncle too, but I don't remember the difference between peduncle and raceme. I'm sure I have a book someplace that tells that. Actually, I don't know if I do anymore. I have my biology book that has all of my plant science stuff in it, but like the actual floral inflorescence terms and everything, I don't know if I still have a book that tells about that or not. Umbel's another one. Yeah, Umbel. Good job. Good job. Why can I never say Silviculus? You just need to tell me what you want to be called. I almost said Sylvester. But yeah, Umbel's another one. It might actually be an Umbel. And then Elenita says, my Hoya rosita flowered for the first time, and the Croniana as well. I don't think I've heard of either one of those. But the shooting star one, the multiflora, I've been told flowers really easily. So if you're somebody that likes houseplants that flower, Hoya, in general, you can actually get them to flower easily, more easily, I should say. Um, if I had to just name 5 flowering plants off the top of my head that actually flower indoors, I mean, probably what? Hoya, Asiananthus, which is the lipstick plant. Um, what else flowers pretty easily? Nematanthus, the goldfish plant. So Streptocarpus, the African violet. Citrus, would you put citrus on there? You know, I'm gonna get a citrus plant this spring. I'm gonna get citrus because I think it was you and somebody else that told me that the flowers on a citrus plant smell so good and oh they're just so easy to take care of. So I'm gonna test that out. I'm gonna see just how easy they are to take care of. Which one do you recommend though? Like lemon, lime, orange? Because we get them in at work. I mean, almost every year we get those in at work. Lime, okay. Yeah. So I guess my question about citrus would be if it flowers, is it going to bear fruit? Indoors, especially. I mean, if you're growing it in the summer, you can have it outside as a patio plant, and then maybe it would bear fruit, but not that it matters. I don't even eat limes, but it's still cool to like potentially grow on. Purple passion, leaf year is purple passion. Is that a Hoya? Is that one of the Hoyas? Oh, Genura. Oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. The purple passion, like the little one. I see those in little pots a lot. And purple passion needs a lot of water, if I remember right. Um, it. I actually didn't know what genus that was in, if I'm being honest. Uh, Genura are in the daisy family. Which is the daisy family the biggest one? Is that the biggest family? That's the asters, right? I'm pretty sure Asteraceae is like the biggest plant family. Silviculus will know. Silviculus is going to tell us that Asteraceae is the biggest family of plants. I'm pretty sure it's daisies. Ha! Yes! High five. Okay, good. As long as somebody verified it. I just couldn't remember. Like, I was pretty sure it was Asteraceae, but I couldn't remember if that was the daisies. I don't know, other than the purple passion that we're talking about, I don't know if there's any other houseplants in the aster family, but I don't know. You know, the other thing I was going to redo while we were talking, did everybody see the ivy before I move it? Because I'm kind of in love with it. But I was going to repot. I'm going to grab the pot. I won't repot it yet. I'll wait till Wes gets home. But let me grab it. Okay. I was kind of investigating my plants the other day, and I was looking at this little. I was looking at this little. This is a Haworthia, or it could be a Haworthiopsis. I don't really remember which one it is, but anyway, I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, I was considering getting rid of it, and then I was just kind of looking at it, and I took a little peek down there, and I'm like, oh wow, there's some roots. So then I kind of lifted it out, and Uh, I'm like, well, it's probably ready to be repotted. So I was going to take care of that on the live stream tonight. But my pots are in the garage, so I'm going to wait till Wes gets home. Senecio is a composite. Okay. Wait. Fruiting indoors is a whole other situation. Flowering can be tricked to happen often, but fruit might need more light. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when a plant actually like creates the fruit, that takes a ton of energy. Haworthia can be massive. Don't look like it, but don't like it. Yeah. The other, the other one I have because Haworthia, the original genus got split into, I think, three, and one of the other one was called Haworthiopsis, and I have one of each. The other one looks more like an aloe, and it's the one you've probably seen. I forget what they're called, the common name, but it looks like an aloe, but it has the white stripes on the outside, and most of the time they're pretty small. I think that's a legit Haworthia, and I think this is Haworthiopsis, but what's in a name, right? Leaf here says, I don't expect my indoor lemon tree to flower or fruit, but the foliage smells really nice. That's interesting. I didn't even think about the leaves, the potential for the leaves smelling good. We talked about the smell of plants a long time ago. I think Christian was there, and we were just kind of discussing how I think some ferns have a really fresh, like earthy smell to them. And the one I'm recalling was a kangaroo paw fern, which is Microsorum. Something about that plant, it was really big, and I had it for a long time, and it always had a very like nature forest smell to it. And I don't know, I always just kind of liked that. But I haven't been able to replicate that since. I, y'all are gonna think I'm nuts, but I did actually kind of smell the roots of this plant because I wanted to make sure they weren't rotten or anything. And it smells like almost like wild onions, which is bizarre. I love fern smells, but they are not all the same. Was wondering why that evolved. I don't know if it's. I honestly don't know if it's even like an evolution thing. As far as I don't know that the smell serves a purpose, I guess, because it's not like ferns are trying to attract pollinators, right? They're just ferns, but I don't know. Why do some flowers smell and some don't? Like some flowers really don't have a smell, just because they're probably drawing on visual cues to like attract pollinators as opposed to scent. I love Microsorum. I just don't have one because that one I had got pretty big, and then just kind of out of nowhere it started to get crunchy, and I was just really disappointed by that, so I haven't really had one since. But I mean, you know that my luck with ferns is kind of garbage, and right now I have my maidenhair fern in my little terrarium. Well, it's not a terrarium, it's for candles, but I'm going to see how long that lasts. I have my asplenium right there, and then behind it in a yellow pot, let me just grab it. I have a phlebodium. This is my little phlebodium. And phlebodium you might more recognize as the blue star fern. If you've ever seen a blue star fern, that is in the genus Phlebodium. This particular one just has kind of more ruffled leaves, so it's not technically a blue star fern, but it does have that kind of blue tinge to it, which I find quite appealing. And of course, Wes got a new pot the other day because, he's kind of into the pot thing. So I thought that would be a good candidate for this. And I knew that Christian would be so excited that I was not putting something in terracotta for once. But Leaf here says, I got my first fern the other day, bird's nest fern. Excellent choice. If I'm going to do just a video on ferns eventually, but like, Christian, this is still wet, I swear. I just watered it. But if I was going to recommend somebody on the first fern that they should try, Asplenium is definitely the one, which is the bird's nest fern, because they are just so much hardier than all the other ferns. And I can show you why. This one has, I mean, look at that. It doesn't even move. Like, the leaves don't even move when I move it. Like, it just has such, like, thick, dense foliage that it's very, very hardy. Now, it still needs plenty of water. I mean, it is still a fern, but this has held up for me very nicely. It suffered a little bit this winter just because it has, but like this one has actually getting that double leaf right there coming in on one, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I actually love it. It doesn't look like a conventional fern with its lacy foliage and everything, which I do adore that, but it's just so hard to keep them fresh looking without looking like browning just from the lack of humidity. Elenita says that she did a major repot of her crocodile fern. Oh, I think I know what a crocodile fern is. I'm going to look that up in a second. And then Christian says that these look like bromeliads, which they do. I mean, they actually kind of do look like bromeliads, minus the serrated leaves and the pretty colors. But yeah, the shape of them and kind of the thickness of the leaves are very bromeliad-like, which I do still have. I do still have my cryptanthus. I don't know where it's at. Oh no, I do see it. Hang on, let me put these back. Here's my cryptanthus, and it is still in a fish. But there it is. It's getting some nice growth on the pups and everything, but it's doing pretty well. It is actually doing really well. Like I was pleasantly surprised by it. I'm gonna look up crocodile fern real quick. Crocodile fern. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what those are. So are those, it says they're in Microsorum. I didn't know that. I didn't know is it just an animal thing with that genus where they just have to name them after animals? Oh well. Ferns are less messy than the Boston family. Yes. Nephrolepis ferns, because of all their little leaflets, especially if you're not giving them proper humidity, they're going to drop those and just make a huge mess. What's up, Mav? Thank you. I appreciate it. I was just talking about that at the beginning of the stream. I actually went to an actual barber this time, and kind of went a different direction with it. So I'm probably gonna keep it kind of like this now. If some of you like Christian have been watching this channel for a while, I've gone through a myriad of different hairstyles, and I think I'm finally starting to kind of find one I like. So, but yeah, ooh, maybe not like that though. I'm going to. He's a little slightly expensive, but I was in the chair for an hour, and he was very, very meticulous. Did the beard and everything. So he says I should keep the mustache, but sometimes I think I look better without the mustache, like with just the beard. I don't know. What do you guys think? Mustache or no mustache? Keeping in mind that I am trying to look young and maintain my youth a little bit. Elenita says that, wow, over 75%, and those ferns still drop those leaflets. That's crazy. I guess that's why people keep those Boston ferns outside, because at least when they drop their leaves out there, it's fine. Depends on the plant it is being held. Yeah. Well, it's not going to be held against this one because this one has serrated edges, so. Which is still pretty cool. I actually do still like this a lot. Okay, I had to smell it. I just felt like I was getting a scent off of that. Steven says keep the mustache. Okay, well, that's one vote for it, I suppose. let me put this back. I'm trying to look around and see what else I can update you guys on. Um, but everything's just growing a little bit slow right now because it's cold and winter and ugh. But when Wes will be home pretty soon, and then I can repot this. Mav asks, also I like that name. My character's name on World of Warcraft is named Maverick. So, do any of your plants not enjoy being in a terracotta pot? My Syndapsis hated it and almost died in a terracotta pot. Yeah, despite what Christian may tell you, I do actually have plants that are not in terracotta, and most of the time for me, it's going to be the plants that need a little bit more like moisture in the soil and that might need a little bit more humidity in general. So ferns, calatheas, begonias, things that are a little daintier don't really do well in terracotta. Now, Syndapsis is fairly hardy, but that doesn't mean that every Syndapsis plant is going to be like a perfect candidate for that. If it does better in like ceramic or plastic for you, keep it in that. I've definitely had I had an epipremnum that dried out notoriously, and I have no idea why. Like it was in the same soil that all my other plants were in, and it just kept drying out. So eventually, I transplanted it into a ceramic pot, and it started doing a lot better. So it's about like playing with that experimentation a little bit and figuring out what works best for you. It's kind of like people and trying on clothes. You know what I mean? Like especially jeans. Like guys, you buy jeans. Like, or do you want them boot cut or slim or loose or you know what I mean? Like you got to figure out what feels best. He keeps the non-terracotta hostage in the basement. uh, I have, so I'm looking right now at two more pots that I have to use that are not terracotta, but I don't have any plants to put in them right now. My fern is in terracotta, but one that I painted and glazed. Okay, well, if you glazed it, then it's sealed. So even though it's still terracotta, it doesn't have the same moisture wicking properties that normal terracotta has, um, which is a good way you can like, that's good for a fern though. Uh, Stephen asked if I've tried aquaponics. I have fish tanks that circulate water through a plumbed system to feed plants. My pothos and peace lilies go crazy in it. Well, Stephen, you will get along really well with Ms. Betty. She's not here tonight, at least not that I know of. She's really into like hydroponics and aquaponics and things like that. Um, she tries to grow basically any houseplant she can in water, and there are a group of plants that actually do really well in water. And the two that you mentioned are both aeroids, which are in the family Aeraceae, which is a family of plants that uh, a lot of our house plants are in. Not a lot, but a big group of them are in, and they tend to be good candidates for that. I can't even name them all. I've got the list someplace. Epipremnum, philodendron, Aglaonema, spathiphyllum, um, Apoballus, Syndapsis. There's a whole bunch, but Dieffenbachia, I think, is another one. Let me see. Elena says, in my conditions, I use terracotta only for cacti because I'm an overwaterer. That's fair. Well, and again, when we're talking about location, like you're in such a good location, and cacti in general, I can't really think of a good case where cacti should be in anything but terracotta if you want to just be safe. Just because cacti, if they get overwatered, they're pretty much toast. I mean, you can save them sometimes, but it's safer. Plus, they look good in terracotta. Cacti look great in terracotta. Let's see. Glazed without the bottom glaze would be the most idea, but hard to find. Yeah. Well, yeah. because then the bottom can actually still breathe, basically. Mav says, thanks, Leafier. I think I want to give that glazed pot a chance. I've heard before glazing them makes a difference. Dura clear gloss finish. Yeah, just be careful what you use and make sure it's not going to like seep into your plants or anything. I haven't tried glazing myself. I would consider it just as kind of a fun project, but most of the time I just use terracotta anyway. And when I don't, Wes is really into like getting these decorative pots. So he's kind of gotten into that a little bit. So if you guys start to see more random colors of pots pop up, it's because he's bought pots. Speaking of which, he just walked in the door. They were asking when you were going to make an appearance. They're like, does Wes ever show up on the videos? Can you do me a quick favor? Just can you get one of these out of the garage? Just one of these pots. I just need an empty one. You'll see him. It's the pot I have the most of. Let's see. Steven says, I have a Dieffenbachia growing hydroponically that has leaves that are 2 feet long and has hit the roof twice now. That's a big Dieffenbachia. And, I mean, well, Dieffenbachia is highly toxic, you know, which is whatever. But, like, I've never had great luck with Dieffenbachia, and I don't know why. I just can't seem to keep them happy to where they don't drop their bottom leaves. Because, I don't know, they start to look weird once they're just one big cane. So, I don't know. And then Sylv says, are your plants on shelves or in individual saucers? I meant, are your plants on larger trays? Oh, I see. Oops. Give me something I can grab. Yeah, just leave it. I'll drink it. I just didn't want to be rude. So the shelves that you see are inset by about this much, by maybe about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. And then I have like a plastic mat that I like custom cut. It's like shelf liner, just so that like when I water, it doesn't damage the shelf underneath because they were kind of expensive. And I just have them sitting on saucers like this, mostly. Some of them are sitting on plates. They're actually sitting on... I don't have one I can grab, but they're actually sitting on like china plates that I got at Goodwill for like $1 a piece. And I mean, they look nice at least, and they still hold the water. So just because like the saucers for these can actually get kind of expensive. Like some of these saucers are as expensive as the pots themselves, which is stupid, but I don't know if that answers your question, but. Perfect. And then let me get my soil. Oh, it's cold. Okay, we are ready to repot. Let me move this. Okay, let me see what you guys are talking about. Large cafeteria trays on wire shelves. That's not a bad idea either. Like I've considered getting like some of those wire shelves that you could maybe get at Walmart, and then just getting like trays for those. But it didn't end up working out that way because I got these shelves as like a present, believe it or not, from my mother-in-law. So, and then Mab says, couldn't manage to get my Dieffenbachia to grow, so rip. But my Philodendron White Princess is in semi-hydro and has hit the roof 4 times. Well, Good for you for getting that to grow because I had a white knight for a while. And it's not that it was growing badly, but some of the white sections of the leaves would start to just turn brown kind of inexplicably. And I just kind of got sick of that. So I'm just like, well, somebody else can take care of this because I don't want to. Okay. So we are going to take this one and we're going to put it into this one. This is a 4-inch pot. This one is, I think 4.5, possibly 5. But the nice thing about this one is that it does have the wider bottom on it. So there is more room for like root growth. This will be a big enough change for this that it can grow a little bit more, especially considering how root bound it is. What? Love you. We're gonna make a little bit of a mess, but it's okay. Ooh, buddy. Love that. And realistically, a lot of these in here are kind of actually pups, which I could probably just pull off and propagate, but I'm not gonna do that. Just pull off some of this dead here on the bottom. Now, technically, you know, spring is the time to be repotting, right? Because by spring, your roots can recover better because your plant is actively growing. But this Haworthia is going to do just fine. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to repot it now because it'll be fine. Just want that to get a little bit lower. Yes, Sylv, I'm actually not sure what species it is. We were kind of talking earlier about how they split Haworthia and Haworthiopsis, and I thought this was Haworthiopsis, but it might be the other one I have. The one that looks more like an aloe. Okay, that should work. Get rid of this. Well, you know what? Actually, I'll just do this. Put this like this so you guys can see it. Oh, I really should. Do I have an orange bag over there of soil? Like under the thing? I don't. Oh, okay.
No, that's coarse blend.
Oh, okay. Well, this is fine.
Pink blend.
Zebra. Okay, the zebra types are Haworthiopsis. Okay, well then I had it backwards earlier when we were talking about it, but and that one's actually doing really well too. You know, I got a repotting tray at like a little Secret Santa thing, but it's so big, it's kind of hard to use it on this table. I could use a funnel. I mean, I don't know. That would definitely be cleaner, but also I don't mind. Sometimes I don't mind just kind of getting my hands dirty.
Say something video that everybody can see on there.
What do you mean make it?
Link it.
Oh. Maybe at the end, so that they don't go watch it right this second. Mav asked if I make my own potting mix. I don't. So the only time I really experiment more with like making my own mix is there are certain plants that I will actually take some orchid bark and kind of crumble the orchid bark a little bit and mix it into just like a regular potting mix, just to make it a little bit chunkier. It's kind of a makeshift aeroid mix if you want to consider it that. But I mean, you could probably look up on the internet a ton of different types of like mixes you can do yourself. I just, sometimes I try to keep it simple. So, but I do still have a bag of orchid bark that I just haven't used through. And this particular plant here, I'm using regular potting mix just because it's in a terracotta pot. So I'm not too worried about it retaining a ton of moisture. And this one has a tendency to dry out a little bit more, I've noticed, just in my own care. It tends to want to be watered a little bit more. So I'm just trying to save myself some trouble. What are you watching?
Chiefs game.
Oh. Okay, I think that is about where I wanted. I was having trouble with this. The reason I was even looking at this plant is because I had it so close to my grow lights. Well, I mean, no more than any other plant down there that I have, but it started turning like red, and I knew that it was just getting a little too much light. So I pulled it back, and I kind of set it in the floor away from the light a little bit more, and it's been doing a lot better. Okay, baby, I think we about got this. Make sure that's nice and even there. Just a little bit more right there. Take that out. Okay. Hopefully this thing gets taller. I mean, it may not, but it'd be nice if it got just a little bit taller. It's got such a robust root system on it, I'd have a hard time believing it wouldn't get a little bit bigger, but yeah. There you guys have it. And you can even see, if you look in there, you can even see that there's still a little bit of like the red in there from where it was just starting to get a little bit too much light. Let me get that out of the way. Let me do this without making a mess. Huh? Oh, yeah. Whoops. Okay. Let's see. Christian says I have a phone. Oh yeah, and then it makes me crazy when dirt gets into the actual plant. I know, it's so annoying, especially a plant like that that has like those little grooves and stuff in it. I try to keep like either a can of like air duster, or like maybe I'll just water it right after to try to get the dirt out of like the middle parts of those leaves. But that's just annoying because you just feel like it's not gonna do good if that stuff's in there. So. Oh, I'm trying to think. Well, what was another thing that we were gonna? We talked about the shop, and there's something else that I was gonna bring up. I don't remember what it was.
When you're gonna do a tour?
Oh man, I need to do that. Steven says I saw a great video that showed how to use a sifter on a house plant potting soil to separate the big chunky bark for orchids, and then what's left with sand and perlite for succulents, so one back for. Oh yeah. You know, when you said that, it made me think of. I don't know if you guys ever went like on a field trip or something to like a cave and you got to like sift for like the fake gold, pyrite.
It's real gold.
No, it's not.
When I went to Colorado, it was real gold.
Oh well, yeah, probably there.
I got a few little flicks.
But yeah. Yeah, well, I've never actually tried that, the sifting method, but most of the time I just, like I said, I'm just lazy and I just buy the bags pre-mixed. And actually, I don't know if you guys watched the most recent video I did, like on houseplant care, but you know, a lot of people like to do organic fertilizers, and I never really got into that personally, but I do have some bags of worm castings I'm going to use this spring. But most of the time I just use organic, or not organic, synthetic, just because it's easier. Like I just do it and it's done. Are you making that? Okay. Okay, so what is it? What is it? What is it I need to do? We're gonna do the rainforest dome at the zoo, uh, and I have one, two, I think three more plant care videos that I've shot that I need to get edited and published, and I've got the shop going here soon. Which right now I think it's only going to be T-shirts on there. We're going to see what else we can branch out into, and what else? Oh, the email. For those of you who weren't here earlier, I want to start featuring some of your plants on the channel. So I'm going to set up an email for Bane's Botanicals, and maybe if you guys ever want to email me a really cool picture of a plant you have, just drop in your YouTube tag, and I can throw it on at the end of some of my videos, just so people can see the plants you guys have, because I'm curious. You know, you guys see my plants all the time, and I want to see what you've got too. Steven says, I siphon fish tank water to fertilize non-succulents. I've heard of that. Somebody was mentioning that on a previous stream about if I do that myself. I don't, just because my fish tank only has one fish in it. It's not like it's benefiting a lot from like the fish being in there. So I never bother with it, but it's definitely a viable option, especially if you have an aquarium that has fish in it. Because that is, if I'm not mistaken, that is what makes the difference, right? If there's actually fish in it, as opposed to if you just have a planted tank that's just plants in the aquarium. Okay, that's right. It's the nitrogen. If I don't lose my voice, it is the nitrogen, right? And then Mav asked if I have a beta tank. I do. I do have a beta tank. It's about 5 gallons, I think. It's just a little 5 gallon tank that I have on my bathroom counter, and he's got my little beta in it. He's yellow, and his name is Sunny. And I featured him on a previous video on aquatic plants, which we haven't talked a ton about aquatic plants on this channel. I've just done that one video, but aquatic plants are actually very easy to take care of, and it's kind of cool when you can make your own little underwater, kind of world. I think right now I have 3 plants in there. Uh, I have an Echinodorus. I have what's the other one? Anubias, and what is the other one? Echinodorus, Anubias, and what is it? Well, I don't know. There's a third genus of plants in there. I think all of them might actually be aeroids. No, Echinodorus isn't an aeroid, but Anubias is. But anyway. No, it's not a Java fern. It's not Drosera either. I thought Drosera was just the the sundew plants. Uh, yeah, we got him because I went to a grocery store and they had like the cups of betas, and like half of them were dead, and I just felt so bad. And so like, you don't see yellow betas that much, and I'm like, I'm gonna bring him home. And I was actually visiting Indiana, and so he actually made the journey all the way back here with us, about a 9-hour drive. And he's been a good little buddy. If you guys ever want to get a fish, get a beta, because they are very intelligent. They're very social as far as like socializing with you, but they don't like being with other fish. But that's okay. And they don't poop that much. Homalamina have aquatic species. That doesn't surprise me because Homalamina is such a thirsty plant. And Alternanthera has a lot of aquatic species. Actually, I think the next plant I want to get for my tank will be an Alternanthera, because I can't keep terrestrial Alternanthera alive for anything. And I just love that name so much, Alternanthera. Alternanthera, Schismatoglottis, Rhaphidophora, there's some really cool plant names. Yeah, Mav, it's kind of sad that, like, in a sense, you don't want to buy them because you're like fueling the market. But I think that particular store is not going to carry those anymore just because they don't take care of them. And I mean, fish are living creatures just like we are, and they deserve to have, freedom and space to roam and the ability to be happy. And the thing about betas, because they're males for the most part, when they're happy, they'll actually make these little bubble nests at the top of the tank that look like suds in a bathtub. And basically, they're doing that because they're ready to breed. And when beta breed, the female lays the eggs, and the male dives down, picks them up, and puts them in these bubble nests so that they can, gestate or whatever. Um, I'm just full of all kinds of random information tonight, I guess. I don't know. But other than the Java fern, I haven't really seen other aquatic ferns that have really like caught my eye. And I don't even remember what species, I'm sorry, what genus the Java fern's in. For some reason, I thought it was semi-aquatic. I could be wrong. Another one that is like a good one for planted tanks would be like Sagittaria, which is grass. It just looks like grass, but it's aquatic grass. And there was another one. Oh, I should have my list. We're gonna do another video on aquatic plants probably just because it's interesting and it's actually pretty easy to take care of as long as you don't put a bunch of fish in it. The reason aquariums start to get complicated is because fish make a lot of poop, and poop makes the water toxic after a while, and it's just not good. So you have to make sure you keep your tank clean fairly often. And like I clean my tank maybe once a month or so, just because it doesn't get that nasty. But oh, water lilies, lily pads. I've never tried growing them indoors, but I know that that's definitely an option. Duckweed, if you've ever heard of duckweed, it is actually a flowering plant. I forget what genus it's in. It used to be in one that started with an L, but it's in something else now. Java fern is semi-aquatic. As long as the roots stay wet, it will grow when out of water. Oh, yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, don't get duckweed. I threw that in there because duckweed is prevalent in in some aquariums, like especially even at shops and stuff. But it's amazing how fast it spreads, and you have to kind of keep fishing it out because it'll cover the whole top of the aquarium, and then it's not getting light. So duckweed is no bueno. But it's interesting if you just keep it, under control. It might also be the smallest flowering plant, like it produces the smallest flower. Are we thinking of the same water lilies? Like, I'm thinking of the ones that are like the actual lily pad, and they produce really big, showy flowers that are like white or pink. But there is a semi-aquatic plant uh, that looks like Sangonium, and I think it's a species of Sagittaria. Like it's just the leaves are like triangular in shape, and it's probably called Sagittaria because of the zodiac sign Sagittarius. But tiger lily that stays submerged in water and is darker in color. Hmm. Some people harvest duckweed, fry it, and make fish food out of it. I didn't know that. I didn't know the fish could eat it. Let's see. Sylv says Wolfia watermeal is smallest flowering plant. Limna duckweed is bigger but still small. Limna, that's the name I was looking for. Thank you. Okay, I did not know that Wolfia was the smallest. Goldfish eat duckweed. Well, that makes sense because goldfish tend to get massive, so that would be something for them to eat. Yeah, so Wes, a few years ago, Wes did a music video, and he is actually a decent singer. He will link the he'll link that video for you guys towards the end of the stream, just so you guys can kind of see that. You guys want to see Wes more, right? And he'll start popping in some of these live streams too. Miniature lotus. I know. I just need to find this stuff. Some of this stuff is like hard to find because if we're still talking about aquatic plants, like the only places I really go to get stuff are mostly just big box pet stores. So like PetSmart, Petco. There is a local one in the next town over, and they have a lot of aquariums, but they still don't have a ton of different plants necessarily. So it's kind of hit and miss on what I can actually get for my tank. Hang on, I'm looking. Azola, okay. Azola. And then, yeah, Drosera. Drosera is the sundew plants, I believe. No, hang on. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Drosera. No, we're not talking about the baking channel. No, Wes, we're not talking about the baking channel. Drosera is the sundew plants. They're the ones that have really long leaves with like bits of like red nectar on the end, and they kind of curl up like this and capture prey. Dionea are the fly traps, and Nepenthes are the pitcher plants, but they're the ones that hang. Sarracenia are the pitcher plants that come out of the ground directly. So those are like the four big carnivorous plant groups. Well, you could throw Pinguicula in there too. Pinguicula is almost like a sticky Echeveria, and that's how it kind of captures prey because fungus gnats and things land on it and they kind of get digested on top of the leaves. Carnivorous plants are just something we haven't gotten to yet. I don't have a ton of experience with carnivorous plants, but it's something I want to get into, much to Wes's chagrin. But yeah. Christian says he has a Sarracenia and a Pinguicula. I've heard Pinguiculas are easy. The one I had, I got at like a bad time, but yeah, I've heard they're pretty. If you get the ones that are like from Central America, because there are some that are from further up north, and I've heard those are harder to take care of, but. Yeah, fly traps. No, don't get fly traps. If you're gonna try carnivorous plants, don't go fly traps. I mean, they're a good novelty, and like you said, they last about a week. But favorite garden center had a bunch of blooming butterworts. I forgot about butterworts and Pinguicula. Yeah, mini Pinguicula. I sometimes sell them. Huh. I think. Well, hang on. Mav asks, does keeping carnal plants mean you have to feed them bugs? I mean, they like that. The thing about carnivorous plants is that they developed in places that have like nutrient poor soil, so they kind of evolved to supplement their nutrition in other ways. And in this sense, it's eating bugs or small amphibians or whatever. And they just, even when you have them indoors, you can't have them in soil that's too rich because the fertilizer will kill them. And they have to kind of be kept wet all the time, and the humidity has to be very high because they're from swampy areas, and it's just it can be difficult. Venus flytraps are actually endangered because of overharvesting and habitat destruction. So yeah, the ones that are native to here are actually endangered. So not cool. Yeah, so like you don't have to like go out of your way to feed them bugs, but if you like a pinguicula is nice to have around if you have fungus gnats because it might help with that. Yeah, yeah, leaf year. It's just the fly traps are probably the most difficult of like that whole canon of plants. That's probably the most difficult one. Yeah, even at Walmart, we get in occasionally. We'll get in a group of. eh, They're just in like a little clear plastic square, and it's got the little pot in there. It's just it sucks because like I have no control over that, obviously. And why do they ship those when they're so hard to take care of? Like they shouldn't be selling those as houseplants because they don't make good houseplants. They're too hard to take care of. They die too fast, and they're endangered. So like, stop harvesting them because it's just not working. Like I don't know. If they want to sell carnivorous plants as a novelty in a store, sell us some Nepenthes. Like I think Nepenthes is like the easiest one to take care of, and that's the one that has the hanging, you know, the hanging pictures. Now it may not always have pictures on it when you own it, but like the plant itself is actually not that difficult to take care of. I mean, it's getting close to like what it takes to take care of a fern. So it just needs to be kept wetter. Yeah. Is that stuffed crust? Oh, he's got his headphones on. It is. Okay. What was the other thing I was gonna ask? Does anybody have experience with Nepenthes? Have you guys done like the pitcher plants, like the hanging ones? Because honestly, when I want one. Gimme, 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 gimme. Wes made a pizza, and I really want some of it. Okay, agent. I'm going to call you agent. I know it's an X in there, but it just looks like the word agent. Agent says, I have a few species and some hybrids. I didn't know there were hybrids of that. That's new. Yay. Thank you. Is it hot? Okay, thank you. Mwahaha. Yeah, the pitchers take like so much energy out of the plant to make from a plant that already has trouble like getting like proper nutrition. So it can be, yeah, it really needs ideal conditions to flower. I mean, no different than some flowering plants that don't flower indoors unless they're under ideal conditions, like Strelitzia. I'm gonna be rude and eat in front of you guys. Well, okay, agent says, honestly, I'd start with some hybrids. They need it humid, but if you're careful, you might be able to harden it off gradually. People put a single Osma coat pellet in the pitchers every so often. Hmm. I think once we reach the end of our plant care saga, which is coming up, I keep saying that because then I keep adding plants. But once we reach the end of that, and there's a couple of other like specific videos I want to do. I think I want to branch into like carnivorous plants, and I want to go back and visit aquatic plants again because I feel like I've talked so much about all of these plants. You know what I mean? But Well, I'm eating it with a fork because I don't want to make a mess. uh, Fish food. I've heard fish food works because it has protein in it. I actually feed fish food to my roaches, and they do just fine. Oh, bloodworms. Yeah, that makes sense. Mav says, my friend managed to get her snake plant to flower indoors. Those blooms were gorgeous, but they didn't last long. My dad had a snake plant and he managed to get it to flower indoors, but he also lived in Arizona, which is like the perfect place. And actually, it may not have been indoors. I think he had it sitting out on his patio or something. Because he sent me a picture of it. I'm like, damn, Dad, I've never seen a snake plant actually flowering before. So, mm, damn, that's good. I was hungry. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I don't know what part of Canada, but I have to imagine it's like really cold right now. So I've got a few different people here than I normally have. So I'm kind of curious, what are give me your favorite genus of houseplants. Like if I had to pick one for me, I would probably pick ficus just because my mom always had ficuses and I like that they kind of grow into trees and they're fairly easy to take care of if you just have a little bit of finesse. Um, I know, Christian, you have to pick one. You can only pick one. I mean, there are several that I love, but you know, if you go through my collection, which I still need to do a plant tour, um, you'll see I have more ficus plants than anything else. So therefore, I feel like it's my favorite. I mean, if you have a couple of different ones, how about that? If you have a couple for different reasons, that's okay. We can do that. Wow, Toronto's that cold right now. It was that cold here last week. It actually got to -8 Fahrenheit. I was gonna say, Christian, I was gonna say Syngonium for you because I know that you like Syngoniums. I like Syngoniums. I just don't like love them. What are your favorites, Sylv? List all 5 of them. Ooh, Elenita from left field says Episcias, or Epicias. I always call them Episcias because it doesn't sound as bad, but Episcias are actually in the family Gesneriaceae, and they are relative to African violets and lipstick plants. So I think that they're thirstier than African violets because the ones I've had tend to want to wilt fairly easily. But Episcias are beautiful actually, and the flowers can be a few different colors, but the ones I've seen the most are pink and orange. Well, I guess they were kind of red. You'll often hear them called flame violets. I mean, under proper care, they do grow very quick. I mean, they will flower very easily and grow very quickly if you're caring for them right. And that's giving them the water that they need, which is a little more frequent than most other plants, and making sure that they are getting the right amount of light, because they do actually like a lot of light. They have kind of darker leaves with some like blister variegation, and they do like a decent amount of light. My thing about Syngoniums is that when I'm collecting different types of a plant, I'm usually not going for different colors. I'm usually going for different species within the genus. Like I'm going for that absolute difference. And with Syngoniums, a lot of the different types are just different colors of the same species, which is Syngonium podophyllum. Now, of course, there's Syngonium wendlandii, and there's Syngonium etherophyllum, and there's, what's the red one called? There's a Syngonium red arrow. I forget what the species name is. I think etherophyllum is the frost Syngonium. I don't know. Somebody correct me, but Sylv says Asphodelaceae. Oh yeah, Gasteria haworthia. Yep. Agaveaceae, Orchidaceae, Crassulaceae, Echeveria, and Cactaceae. So really, Sylv, you're into mostly like succulents and desert plants, aside from orchids. Although you can make a case that orchids are a little bit succulent, but um, yeah, especially Crassulaceae. I mean, there's a lot of good succulents in Crassulaceae. Wait, Agavaceae, is that its own family? I didn't realize that was. For some reason, I thought. For some reason, I thought agave was in. It doesn't matter, but hang on. We're looking something up real quick. Agave plant. Why does it? What is it doing? Like, I just don't understand. There it is. Oh, I hear fireworks going off. The Chiefs must have won, if anybody watches football. Um, and Cactaceae, yeah, Cactaceae is a huge family. Okay. Okay, thank you, Sil, for correcting that. I was actually looking that up because I'm like, I couldn't remember that being its own family. But yeah, it got moved into Asparagiaceae. Okay. I was I like to know for my own my own knowledge. Uh oh yeah, Elenita, you like alocaceas? Ugh. I'm so bad with alocaceas. Also, echeverias. I feel like echeverias just don't grow very well. Like they start to get weird. Like I wish they would just keep that shape always, and I just feel like for the most part they don't. But yeah. Let's see. My fish water has helped me find success with Phala, Phalaenopsis orchid. I haven't really gotten into orchids much. Terrestrial orchid, no special care. So the one terrestrial orchid that I know is Spathoglotis. I don't know if that's the one you were talking about, but that's the only one I know of. Um, Mostly tropicals and succulents, but can't pick favorites. I can't either. I think I prefer tropical plants because they are more conventional for me, but I have a whole shelf that you guys don't see. I mean, in my older videos you can see it, but I moved it downstairs, and it has probably 30 succulents on it. So I like succulents a lot too. Oh, Ludesia. Okay. No, never. I mean, think I've heard of the word Ludesia, but uh, oh, okay. Well, and there's just so many different kinds of Echeveria. There's so much like crossbreeding too between Echeveria and Sedum, and then you get things like Sedaveria, and yeah. I've never had thrips. Knock on wood. Especially look like normal flowers in the temperate zones. Hmm. If an alocasia gets going, then it'll end up being one of your most gorgeous plants. I think my brother is watching. Uh, so I'm filming on my phone. He asked me why my camera was backwards. It's because I'm filming on my phone so I can see my face. He must be watching, otherwise he wouldn't be trying to call me. But I can't answer if I'm filming on my phone. Um, uh, I thought Alocasia zebrina was like one of the harder plants to take care of. I'm catching up with your comments, I swear. Ludesia discolor has been blooming for weeks. Really? My flowers on my African violet have finally died off, but it took them long enough. Really? Like, I guess I've just, maybe we just don't have orchids here in like the central US. I don't think I've ever seen an orchid growing like in the wild. Over 50 species for my state. That's crazy. Uh, Allocation minor has been very tough so far. I didn't have to cover it this year for the winter, and it's in the 5 leaf club. There you go. Mav says that he lucked out with the Alocasia zebrina. Another easy one is Alocasia cuculata. Cuculata. Many prairie orchids are there. They just look very different from common grocery store ones. Yeah, and even like the one terrestrial orchid, I had a spathoglotis for a minute, and I just didn't like latch onto it enough, I guess. But it looked like grass. It didn't even look like anything like an orchid that you would think of. So I don't know. I think this summer I'm going to spend a little more time outside kind of looking at plants and things. I mean, obviously my specialty is houseplants, but I study plants in general, so I do spend a lot of time outside as well, which I can take you guys with me. I mean, if you guys are interested in seeing some of that, I can definitely record it. I like that. Bane's Botanical Adventures. The thing is, like, any outdoor stuff I do is not going to be like gardening. Gardening is not my forte by any means. Um, but I do just like going out in the wild, you know what I mean? And seeing what's out there, seeing what grows. And, you know, you'll also catch me looking at a lot of insects. like, I like to kind of study insects just because I think they're interesting and they're kind of underrated. In the animal kingdom, a lot of people are scared of insects or grossed out by them. And I mean, realistically, without insects, like we're nothing, right? We don't have food, we don't have anything. So I don't know. They're just trying to do their thing. There's definitely some insects that I'm like, F you, like get away from me, like wasps, but or centipedes, ugh, gross. But you know, for those of you who don't know, I have two Madagascar hissing cockroaches just because I wanted some insect pets. I've got four cats and a fish and a snake, and I just wanted like some insects. And I found them being sold as feeders at Petco, and I thought, well, that's kind of sad because they make good pets. Like they're chill. They don't take a lot of work or anything. Yeah, there surprisingly are a lot of plants that have Bane in them. Well, they're not quite that big. I wish they were that big. That'd be cool. If like a roach was as big as your palm, I'd like that. My brother just sent me a picture of a centipede. That's so rude. Ugh. Yeah, Steven, I've actually been to the Omaha Zoo. Omaha Zoo is amazing, and they do have a beautiful rainforest dome. And Omaha actually has a really cool botanical garden too called oh, I don't remember. It starts with a K, and they have a huge indoor area full of gigantic plants that don't grow anywhere near here. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about going places like that is you'd have to travel to like the other side of the world to see some of those things. So, yeah, yeah, the desert dome up there is really cool too. Wow. I mean, and can you imagine like living in Alaska? And, you know, a place like that would be the only place you would ever get to see that just because, the further up north you go, the further up the earth you go, or down, I guess, if you're in the southern hemisphere, the less varied life is. You can see it even in the vegetation, how you go from, tropical forests to more deciduous forests to coniferous forests that are mostly just pine trees because it's the only thing that can survive up there. So it's just interesting seeing that change as you get further and further away from the heat sources. Wichita Zoo is really cool too, yeah. Wes and I, we have a tendency when we visit new places, we like to go to the zoo. Like that's just kind of our thing. Like I'm an animal lover, as well as a plant lover, and it's just nice to kind of be a part of that. So we like to go to zoos and kind of explore and everything. What was I gonna say? I was just gonna say something. Oh, well, whatever. It's gone. Treatments recovered in mounds of mosses and lichens. That makes me think of like the southern U.S., like a Georgia swamp or something. You know what I mean? Maybe not Georgia, like Louisiana. Yeah, the whole animals and zoos thing is kind of a controversial, you know, thing. I think it depends on the animal. There's some animals that definitely don't belong in zoos, and I think there's some animals that are um, almost indifferent to where they are, so it's just like whatever. And then some animals, it's like a safety thing almost. It's good seeing you, Elenita. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out with us. Have a good day at work tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll see you here in a couple of weeks when I do another one of these. Agent, I just don't know if I'd want to live that far north. Like, that's so far north. I mean, I'm sure it's beautiful up there, and I'm sure that there are, once you're up there, you probably don't really think about it much. But I don't know. It just, when I think about it, like living here, I'm like, wow, that's really far, far away. I would die in the winter. I hate winter, you guys. That's gross. No, we're not moving to Alaska. If anything, we're moving further south. And even this year, they haven't been immune to winter. I mean, did you guys see that it like snowed in Texas and snowed in Florida? Hmm. Yeah, no. Negative 25, forget it. Well, I mean, I imagine that summers in Alaska are probably really nice because they're nice and cool, and then winters in Florida, like where it's warmer. It's hard to find a place on Earth where the weather is just kind of nice all year round, but I mean they're there. Let me finish chewing. That's the bizarre thing to me about like living further north like that is the difference in like daylight and darkness. And you cross that point, I think it's like, is it the Arctic Circle? Where basically above the Arctic Circle, where it's like total darkness for like 6 months and then like total light for 6 months. Like that's so weird. Like how could anybody ever live like that? That would be so bizarre. Yeah, 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 whatever. Them radio guys aren't eating. It's actually been pretty mild here in central Iowa this year compared to what you guys have had in KC. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a little chaotic here just as far as the weather goes. But I mean, it's not like horrible. It's no different. Like winters in Indiana were always pretty rough. So I'm used to it. But I know some people here complain about it. I mean, I complain about it too, but chewing ASMR. Nom, 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 nom. Get my mic going. Isn't that the place they made a vampire movie on 30 Days of Night or something? Please do not do ASMR. Yeah. I don't know if they shot that there or not. I mean, they could have, I guess. Wasn't that a. Yeah, I don't know if I saw that movie. I've heard of it. What? 30 Days of Night. I'm pretty sure we have that movie. Like, I think you have it burned or something on a disc. Yeah. My brother asks what I'm drinking. I'm drinking the Mexican cola of Jarritos, which actually is really good if you haven't had it. Jarritos in general are good just because they're made with like cane sugar instead of like high fructose corn syrup. So like if you're wanting a soda that is, you know, I always felt like soda tastes better coming out of glass bottles anyway instead of like plastic. But yeah, good stuff. Got blizzards 3 weekends in a row that left 24 inches of snow behind. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, Iowa is further north. I mean, you think that the winters there would be a little more extreme. Propagated many plants in glass soda bottles. Yeah, well, I mean, glass is ideal when you're propagating. I mean, you can propagate in about anything, but yeah, you know, I haven't done like I do have some prop stations and stuff. You guys usually can't see them, but I mean, I don't do a ton of propagating just because I don't want more plants. But sometimes if I know it's something I can give away as a gift or something, I'll propagate it just to, be nice. But like I did this philodendron atabapoens or whatever it is, like I actually broke a piece off of it. I didn't even mean to. It just sort of broke off and I ended up like propping it and I gave it to a friend of mine. So those are kind of hard to find. So bring some when you come east next, and Mexican Coca Cola in glass bottles. Yeah, well, that is really good. Like, I think we still have that here too. It's just a different flavor. I'll bring some. They make a 12 pack. I'll bring some when I come back home. I remember the first month of being in my new house in New Hampshire, and it was snowing 28 inches in the middle of March. Y'all, I am never moving to any of those states you guys are talking about, ever. And then hit a record 9 days in a row that the temp never went above zero. No. Mm-mm. Y'all can keep it. I'm not doing that. Christian says I should propagate all the time. Why should I propagate all the time? You also say I should buy a bunch of plants online too. That's not a bad idea, like having like backups. But certain plants that are rare, sometimes it's hard to get them to propagate just because not all plants propagate that well. But I mean, that's true. Like the internet makes it to where it's like so easy to get all of these different plants you've never had before. And that can be fun to experiment like that, but sometimes I just favor buying plants that I can see like in person, I guess. Like I like being able to like pick the exact one I want. And sometimes it's hard to buy them online because you don't necessarily see the exact product you're getting. They're just like, "Oh, well, we're just going to ship you a cutting in a 6-inch pot or whatever." But I've considered buying a Pereskia on there because we have talked about Pereskia on the channel a couple of times about how it's a cactus that has leaves or whatever. So it's just like, I don't know. Mav says, if I get a new plant and it starts to head south, that's when I'll take a cutting and try to propagate it as backup. So far, the only plant I've failed at propagating is the Philodendron silver sword. Hmm. Yeah, I love the silver sword philodendron. I've never tried to propagate one, but some philodendrons, because of how slow growing, like some of the upright ones are, they can be hard to propagate. Uh, can't bring myself to throw away viable clippings, but I'm trying to make more select so I don't end up with too many. Yeah, well, even being selective in general with buying plants can be tricky. I know that from experience. I'm trying to do better. I actually went to 3 different plant shops yesterday and I didn't buy anything. Well, I did buy a little magnet in the shape of a monstera leaf, but yes, Sylv, yes. My spider mites propagate pretty well too, actually. I did find a mealybug on a Hoya recently, but I just plucked it and I couldn't find another one. Etsy is a good source for cheap props if you have the patience to let them grow up. Oh, see, Steven, that's my problem is that with propagations, like, I just don't have the patience. Like, I just want, like, a full, nice plant. Just getting mail in general is like Christmas. Like, even if it's from Amazon, I'm like, yes, exciting. The place I bought from was in Georgia, and literally 2 days after I bought it, the highs where all of the teens. Oh, yeah. That happened to me in December when I bought my Syndapsis. What is it even called? We just did a video on it. Well, what is that freaking? It's right there. I can see it. I bought a Syndapsis that I'd never heard of before, and when it came in the mail, it was cold damaged because, like, the one day that they were delivering it, it Paracensis, that's what it's called. The one day they were delivering it, it snowed and was really super cold. But they let me buy another one and refunded me the other one. So, and that one's actually doing really well. You know, I mean, Christian, at that point, I almost would probably just try growing from seed. Like, because I bought some seed kits, and like one of them is like cactuses and one cacti. One of them is like a philodendron. One of them is actually a palm of some sort. Like, I just want to, you know, it's just interesting to watch those things kind of start from scratch. No, it should just be warmer in the wintertime. I mean, the thing is, it had been in like the 40s for the whole week before and the week after. It was just that one day that it snowed, I swear. Dragon fruit cactus is isn't that isn't that the it's not the orchid cactus, is it? Isn't that the Ethria? No, no, no. What is it? What is the dragon fruit cactus? Somebody help us. Yeah, I think those kits, hopefully they're kits that are easy to germinate. I mean, probably not the best time to do it in the wintertime, but the kits I have, I'll probably start using in the spring. Well, agent, it's good that the seller's holding on to it so that it's not like going through the cold. Pitaya is dragon fruit. Okay, I'm thinking of something else then. I'm thinking of it's a cactus that starts with an E. I keep wanting to say Ethereophyllum because we were talking about Syngoniums earlier. That's not what it's called. And I swear the fruit on that cactus is edible, and it's a jungle cactus. No, it's not Echeveria. Oh, if I had my list in front of me. Well, at least they're just bulbs. I mean, they still don't need to be in like really cold temperatures, but Selin, Selinacerius? Haven't heard of that one. But there's so many genera of cacti. I considered, like, I found a website that has a pretty reliable like list of all of the different genera of cacti for the most part, and I considered like starting to check some of those off, and I'm like, I really don't need all of these cacti in the house. Hey, Leaf, you mentioned the seed germinating on that lemon tree. Like, how big is the lemon tree now, and how long did it take to get that big? I'm looking up the name of that plant because I don't remember it. Uh, Epiphyllum. That was the one I was thinking of. Epiphyllum. I thought epiphyllum made fruits that were edible, but I could be wrong. It's 4 feet tall and is only a year and a half old. That's crazy. I mean, prickly pears are edible too. That's true. That's on an Opuntia, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Puntia. Okay, good. Christian hates the cactus idea, and Sylv probably loves it. I'm not gonna do that probably just because, like, when it comes to cactus care, it's all like 70 or 80% of all cacti have like the same care for the most part. Like, it's just so making those videos was starting to get like repetitive. So I did a few of the important ones, and then the rest it's like, the difference between caring for a gymnocalycium and a ferrocactus isn't really that different, from each other, even though they are pretty different plants. What's impressive to me about plants in retail, and I can vouch for this working in retail, is the fact that they have people watering these plants and they have no idea what they're doing. Like, they don't know anything about plants. And I'm not saying that you need to be like an enthusiast to be able to work and water plants, but you should at least know a little something. Like, right? You should at least know that, oh, the water's wet. I'm sorry, the soil is wet and it's a cactus. I probably don't need to water it again or it'll die. Or, wow, this soil is bone dry. I'm probably going to have to soak this thing to make sure it gets hydrated. Stray cats. Yeah, that's actually true. Do you guys, here's a good question. Do you guys like rehab plants? Like, when you go to stores, do you like buying clearance plants that you have to kind of bring back from the brink? Steven says he found a purple gymnocalycium, and not only is it blooming, it's developing pups. Wow. I had just a regular green gymnocalycium for about 3 years, and I finally gave it to a friend of mine. It was getting to be a decent size, but it never put off pups or did anything. But you know, Christian rescues plants, but mainly online. Leafier absolutely buys rehab plants. I also pick up pieces from the ground to see if I can take them home. That's funny. Well, especially if it's something like something that props easily, you know what I mean? Like a piece of it falls off and you can just propagate it. Agent has a Gymnocalycium lucasii. Don't feel bad. I'm not good with species names. I mean, I'm good with genus names. That's, the important thing, I feel like. Sylv got 3 clearance plants from Lowe's, Philodendron Ring of Fire, Cebu Blue, and Chameleon ZZ. So Lowe's has a contract with Costa Farms, like Walmart does. So if you guys see, like I'm subscribed to Costa Farms email, and they'll email me when they drop new plants in. And so like Lowe's is a good place to go look if you're looking for anything like that. Just because Costa Farms tends to have pretty good plants. They actually sent me an email. They're dropping a marble Epiprimnum palladium. So it's basically like a marble queen, only instead of being Epiprimnum aureum, which is like the thicker, rounder leaves, it's Epiprimnum palladium, which is like the longer, thinner leaves that have fenestrations in them already. Fenestrations are the holes, if anybody didn't know that. Love getting those almost dead plants and bringing them back to life. Some wins from the plant trash pile include Philodendron Billy. Oh, that's a good one. Hoya Kintiana, Alocasia Silver Dragon. Oh, well, the fact that you can get a silver dragon to grow is impressive to me. Steven says there's a guy that does videos of him and his son driving around the neighborhood and picking up plant cuttings they can prop and sell. Huh. They're like dumpster diving for plants, basically. I had the most beautiful marble queen. I think it may have been a snow queen, and I don't remember if I featured it on the channel or not when I did my video on Epiprimnum, but it didn't end up surviving, unfortunately, but it was beautiful. I mean, this Epiprimnum giganteum, it was basically like that level of variegation. Like that's how white the leaves were. Only it was, an Epiprimnum aureum. So, I don't know. Sad day that I had to throw that out, but I mean, yes, but it wasn't even like the plant was like that old or anything. It just started doing not well, and yeah. I do have some propagations, I swear. You guys can't see them, but there are props back here. Here. Like I'm trying to rescue this this Sangonium tricolor, and it's got a couple of like little baby leaves in there. They're not tricolor, but basically this plant, it was a weird cutting and it wasn't doing very well. And then finally it just started to decline altogether. And we got one good cutting out of it. Oh, there's actually a third leaf coming up. We got one good cutting out of it, and yeah, this is what we got left. So I don't know if it'll be tricolor or not, but we're doing our best. I also got I got these cuttings of some Sangonium from somebody. Now I don't even remember where, and they're doing okay. Actually, they do have some good roots on them. Look at that. It's got some nice roots on it. I could probably plant that one. This one is not doing well. This one's probably just trash, but it's okay. And there was some other cutting I was going to show you guys, and I don't remember what it was. You see my hair standing up in the back? My goodness. Let me see. Marble Queen used to belong to my grandmother. Same with the variegated Schefflera, all from cuttings. I wish I had some of my mom's plants. Like that would mean so much to me, but I don't, unfortunately. Oh wow. That's the amazing thing about succulents is that they root and propagate so easily that it's crazy. It's crazy. It really is. I wish all plants. I mean, all plants are totipotent, which means that you can take any part of the plant and make a new plant with the right hormones. But like, yeah, not all of them propagate as easily. Yeah, I usually wait. I've never measured, but I usually wait till I just start to see the roots kind of corkscrewing in the vial. Sangoniums will grow fine in water. Sangoniums are actually they come from areas that are actually wetter, so they do really well growing in water, which is nice. Leaf finds random succulent props growing on your shelf all the time. My I have a Sangonium albo, and it was doing amazing. It was from a cutting that originally only had like 3 leaves, and then eventually it had like 6 or 7 leaves. And I chopped it up and I made a fuller plant, and it was doing great. And now it just sucks, and I don't know why it sucks, but it's just it has started to not do very well. Let me move some of this around. We're gonna put that right there. We're gonna put this right here. And I'm not even gonna show you that Sangonium because it just looks crappy. Steven says, how about a video detailing different methods of propagation? I'll show you the albo. Since you asked, I'll show you. Hang on. Sangoniums are more sensitive to changes in temperature than philodendron. You could have moved yours too much. I may have. I mean, it's been in basically the same place, but originally I had it growing just in a pot, and then I tried to like stake it up. And ever since I've tried to stake it up, it has not been doing very well. I don't know why. And Steven, I did a video on propagation like a long time ago, probably like a year ago. So feel free to check that out, but I will probably do another one just because that's been long enough ago that like it's just good to do a refresh, right? It's good to just revisit that after a while. Um, I can say as a spoiler alert that I probably won't do any like grafting or air propping. You know, like with some plants, especially like tree plants, you can't just propagate by tearing off a branch and sticking it in the soil. You have to kind of do almost like surgery, and it's a bit of a process that, you know, can be fun, but it's not as easy as like a vining plant where you just cut it, you know, on either side of the node and stick it in the water. Layering is another term for that. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Yeah, you know, here, let me just grab it. Here it is. Oh yeah, and Sylve, I've got 2 species or 2 different varieties of that mother of thousands, and it's crazy how they just drop and they just start growing new plants. It's kind of insane. So here's my little albo, and even the leaves, there's a dead one. Even the leaves aren't coming in quite as nice anymore. This one's about ready to be watered, actually. But like, here's what I'm talking about. Like, see, it's always the white part that the plant starts to get rid of first. It's like the plant knows that, you know, the white part isn't doing anything for it. It's not contributing to photosynthesis. So it's like, I'll just get rid of that. But it's been under the same light, and, you know, I probably just shouldn't have messed with it. Like, it was doing well in the pot it was in. I probably just shouldn't have messed with it. Boy, there is a bit of a delay on my end. I don't know. I'm going to refresh here. All my Syngoniums get plastic trellis for support, and they love it. And it could be the moss pole. I mean, I've got it clipped and everything, and it's just not enjoying it. And I don't, and this is just one of those things where you just sort of have to experiment and figure out what works best. And in this case, this isn't working. So when springtime comes, I may chop this down a little bit more and like get some new like roots on it and everything and just kind of start over again. I mean, I do still see new growth. Like here's a new leaf right here coming in, right there. And there's like another one here. So it's not like it's a lost cause by any means, but it's just something I need to address. Now, alternatively, I have another Syngonium that's actually doing really well. Okay, Wes is calling it. So here in like, we'll probably wrap this up in about 20 minutes, and then I'll call it too. Here is my Syngonium Ice Frost. And I think this is the one. Is this Ethereophyllum? Syngonium Ethereophyllum? Hang on, let me catch up here. Wes is going to link that video. Ooh, look at that ugly leaf. That's okay. Oh, this is dry. This needs to be watered. Well, anyway, this is actually the original pole that I bought it on. Like, it was already on this pole when I bought it. And like I said, this is Syngonium. I think it's Ethereophyllum, and they call it the Ice Frost Syngonium. And what's bizarre about this plant is that it doesn't have triangular leaves. They're more rounded. And most Syngoniums you see have very pronounced triangular shape to them. And they call it ice frost because the leaves come in a very like icy green like that, and then as they get older, they kind of they revert a little bit more to the dark green, kind of like the philodendron Birkin a little bit, except that's like a mutation, and this is actually just what they do, I believe. Beautiful plant though. I considered getting rid of it at one point, but it just keeps putting out these beautiful leaves, and I don't know. I figured I'd hold on to it. Honestly, ice frost bite, yeah. I'd really like to get that red arrow Syngonium again because I really thought that was a cool one. You just don't see them that much. I don't know why. Leaf year, I've only really done moss poles. I've tried them on the Syngoniums and Erythrophyllum, that's it. Erythrophyllum. Syngonium mojito. I've heard of mojito, but I don't think I've ever had it. So the only plants I've really put on moss poles were those two Syngoniums, well, the one, and other than that, I've mostly just done things on like trellises. I've got a philodendron hederaceum on kind of a black iron trellis down by my succulents. I just need to do a plant tour. How many times have I said that I need to do a plant tour, and I just haven't done it yet? Erythrophime is a gaslighter, so it might suddenly pitch a fit after looking well for you. Well, that's typical. Um, I've heard, I've heard that there are certain species of, well, maybe not certain species, but certain varieties of Epipremnum aureum that do better staked up than others. So, like the jade and the golden, and I think even the neon respond pretty well. Like they start to get really big leaves. But some of the ones that have more variegation, they don't like it as much just because they don't grow as well, I guess. But I've always wanted to try staking up an Epipremnum aureum and having it get those gigantic leaves on it, maybe even to the point that they start to fenestrate. Does it? Okay. I was curious because that's one of those ones, like the Magula is one of those ones that like the leaves they get so variegated that they start to like deform and everything. But I have seen some that aren't even staked up that get pretty big leaves. So I'm glad to hear that. I, I don't know. Do I need to get another one of those? I really want to, but I know, like it's such a good one. And something about one thing that attracts me about some variegation is that contrast of white to dark green. And that's not something you see on plants too much, but Mandula is one of the ones that has it. Manula, whatever. Like it's just one of those plants that has it. Another plant that has it that I've got is uh, this Dracaena. How it just has like I really love that dark green and the white like next to each other. And I mean, obviously there's some cream mixed in there too, but like I don't know, I think it's really pretty. Okay, so it is okay, Mandula. Okay, well, that settles that. I've heard it pronounced different ways, but good to know that that's correct. Okay. Sylph says you can get a spider plant that is green and white. I haven't seen one that's green and white like that though, and maybe I just haven't found it yet. But even plain green Sangoniums, or I'm sorry, chlorophytums, they still are like more of that yellow green. The curly leaf Bonnie is really cool. So it's okay, I've got one. Here's my spider plant, and it has green leaves for the most part, but it has like kind of a light green variegation down the center. So it's not necessarily a true green spider plant, but it's starting to put off babies and stuff. So that's exciting. But it it's gotten pretty big. This is actually one that my cat likes to eat. So I have to kind of protect it a little bit from her. She just has like a taste for spider plants for some reason. Okay. There's a little rock. Christian says, oh, and do not wrap Etherephime in its pot when it gets longer. Might almost die that way. What do you mean wrap it in its pot when you say that? My solid green spider plant is darker than the one you just held up, and my cat loves to eat it too. I think some cats know what plants are toxic and what plants are not. Like, I'm not saying all cats do, But I've noticed that my cats only tend to go for the ones that are non-toxic. So like my spider plant, my palms, like those are just the ones they, and maybe it's the shape of the leaves. Maybe they just like that long. Oh, Christian, okay. I get what you mean now. An entire ponytail palm? That's crazy. Well, the good news is it's not really a palm. That's like a running gag on on the channel about how some common names are so deceptive, like annoyingly deceptive. How like ponytail palm is not a palm, sago palm not a palm, cardboard palm not a palm. Yeah, Ahmad is here. Ahmad is here. Good afternoon from Malaysia. It's good to see you, brother. Glad that you're here. Yes, exactly, Christian. Like my satin pothos, or silver pothos, as they used to call it. Not a pothos, and it's not an epiprimnum either, so. Yep, Sil, yep, it is completely. Pothos is just not. I mean, they still have some species in pothos, but it's not anything related to houseplants anymore. It's just a name we use now, really. Which we've told that story a couple of times about how they figured that out, but yeah, bonsai is really anything that can just be shaped. And I mean, like, I know that they're like ficus ginseng is technically a ficus, or I'm sorry, technically a bonsai. And then there's something else. I forget what the genus is that's also considered a bonsai. It's more like a pine. Somebody chime in if you know it. But yes, Sylv, it's the flowers and it's the number of ovules in the ovaries. At least the difference between epiprenum and synapsis. Epiprenum has multiple ovules in the ovary, and synapsis only has one. So, different enough that scientifically they had to be separated. And then Ahmad, I don't have a specific Instagram for this channel yet. I'm probably gonna make one. As a In my experience, I've not used Instagram that much myself, so that's the only reason that I don't have one for the channel. Because personally, I've never used one. Most of my social media has been Facebook and Snapchat, and I've considered making a Facebook for the channel, and I kind of got mixed reviews on that. But I'm definitely going to do an email so that you guys can send me pictures of plants, and I'll try to feature them on the channel every now and then, just so that Um, let's see. Map says in South Asia, the pothos plant is referred to as the money plant. Didn't know that. I knew pothos was in Asia, but I didn't know that they were called that. Leaf Year says, thought about trying my bonsai with my Portulacaria afra. Hang on. What, did I murder something? Oh, you know what? That Portulacaria was asking for it. Portulacaria is a cool succulent. It's one of those succulents that needs a little bit more water. So if you don't give it plenty of water, it 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 starts to do the leaf droppy thing, and it's not pretty. Alternatively, an alternative if you're looking for a bonsai type succulent, Lampranthus is amazing. If you guys don't know what a Lampranthus is, I'll grab it. I'll grab mine because it's gotten really big and it's amazing. But Portulacaria, I've never had luck with either. Leafy says my parents used to do juniper bonsai. Yes, juniper was what I was thinking of. Sylv says I learned it needs more water by killing all of my Portulacaria. Yeah, and that just comes down to it's hard to put all of the succulents into one watering category. You know, we kind of talked about the watering scale on that last video about how cacti need the least amount of water and the next step up is succulents. Somebody had mentioned maybe splitting that into two, even just because some succulents like Gasteria can go a long time without water, and other succulents like Ceropegia and Portulacaria, they need more water. Like they just need to be watered more often. Their leaves, even though they're succulent leaves, they're still very small and they can't go long times without some sort of supplemental moisture, I guess. Um, Leaf here says, I'm not on any other social media, but I might take some pics just in case. Could be fun to do before and after type of thing. Yeah, and Leaf here, that's where my Bane's Botanicals email will come in. I'm gonna work on that this week. I'm gonna figure that out so that I can start getting pictures from you guys, and then like that's something that you could share to the channel, and I can post it. Uh, Ahoyra australis lisa. Haven't heard of that one, Ahmad, but I know we have a lot of Hoya lovers. Christian's going to surprise me with a rare succulent from seeds. Okay, I'm excited. Is it one I've ever heard of? Like, have you ever heard me say the name on the channel? Okay. Well, then that'll be fun. I mean, realistically, even if we didn't do a picture at the end of like multiple like videos, like we could almost just do a video, maybe like once a month or once every couple of weeks, where I just sit down for 5 minutes and I just kind of like look through some of your guys' pictures so that, we can just kind of share that on the channel. I mean, I don't know. Like right now, like my wish list plants, I don't really have a lot of wish list plants right now, just because I've been trying to do better about like cutting back my collection a little bit. But if I had to pick a couple, I don't know. Like I would probably say, like I want to try that Pereskia, which is like that leafed cactus, just to see what it's like. And I wouldn't mind maybe trying. What would be another one? I'd like to get like that um, Syndapsis mayorii, just because it's like I have the other species of Syndapsis, and if that's a different species, I kind of want it, because I'm kind of a collector like that. Like if there's a genus that doesn't have a lot of species in it, I like to try to get them all. Of course, then you have a genus like Zamioculcas where there is only one species, or Stetsonia. Well, Leafier, I would give you some of mine. I mean, I have a few plastic ones and I have a ton of terracotta. As I've scaled back my collection, I have a lot of leftover. So, and they're not being held in a dungeon. See, Christian, that's the other thing we need to figure out how to do is like, I want to see your collection. You just need to start making videos too. Because I am curious about what all you have. And I'm going to do a plant tour, I swear. I've been trying to get down to a certain number. And once I get down to that number, like, then I'll do a plant tour and you guys can just see every single plant that I have. Buy them as a set if you can. It's cheaper. Yeah, that's true. Buying in bulk. Ahmad says, I've decided only to purchase plants that don't go big for the near future. Well, there's lots of plants like that, so you've got plenty to choose from. I say that as I look down at my big Strelitzia and my big ficus that are huge. And Sylph says he has 5 cultivars of ZZ plants. See, and that's the problem too, is that like with plants, if you have like an inner collector, it's so easy to get into that. I mean, it really is. Like, let me see if I can name the 5 you have, because I probably don't know them all like you do, but I know that there's just the regular ZZ. I know there's the ZZ Zenzi, Raven, Chameleon, and there's probably one more that I'm missing. Fill in the gaps, because I don't. Yeah, gotta catch them all, exactly. I was like that with Epipremnum for a minute, and then Epipremnum just started getting so blown out of proportion with like how minute the differences were between the different varieties that I'm like, this isn't really fun anymore. Yeah, Christian's right. Even if a plant gets big, sometimes you can prune it to like stunt its growth a little bit so you can kind of keep it small longer. Yeah, well, I mean, just collecting in itself is can be like an addictive thing no matter what it is. But it's just not to not to channel Marie Kondo, if you guys know who that is, but sometimes you just have to keep the things that spark joy that you really love. And there are definitely certain plants back there that I'm like, I could never get rid of that. I love it. And then there's certain plants that I'm like, well, you're kind of just here. Like you're here because I think you're cool, but am I in love with you? Not really. Oh, okay. Yeah. Which is fascinating to me that something like Zamioculcas that it only has the one species. The fact that you can kind of get that variety in there is interesting. Which Zamioculcas, spoiler alert, because I haven't published my Zamioculcas video yet, but that name actually means like Zamia. And Zamia is a cycad, which is a much older plant. And, I guess they thought that Zamioculcas looked like Zamia, so that's how they named it. I don't know. I'm kind of that way. Multiple plant syndrome. I think we all have that, Stephen. I think we all have MPS. Um, didn't MPS used to mean like megabytes per second back when like download speeds were ridiculous? Anyway, no, that's MBPS maybe. Anyway, Aglaonemas. I like Aglaonemas. I have 2 Aglaonemas, and I just don't like feel it fully for them. And I don't know why. They're just sort of there. I've got one of them right here. And I actually like this one a lot. Well, except for this yellow leaf. I don't like that as much. But this is a longer, like narrower leaf Aglaonema. And I really like it, but it's not like it's not thriving enough for me. Like it's not doing anything that's interesting other than dropping a yellow leaf probably once every couple of weeks. It'll just drop a new leaf. And maybe in the spring it'll start to do better. But yeah, right now, it looks like a cutlass. I don't think it is a cutlass. It was called something else. It was called like Prince something or other, but it's basically a cutlass. You know what I mean? Like I want plants to eat my face when I die. Damn. Oh wait, let me go back a little further. I want a plant after every letter of the alphabet. Uh, so the alphabet thing, you're gonna lose around. Hang on, let me think. Q? Is there a Q plant that's a house plant? I know for J, there's Juncus. You can grow Juncus grass indoors. Aglaonema looks like a grandma plant. Well, that makes sense. I mean, they kind of are grandma plants. Yeah, the red and the pink, like, they're harder to take care of because there's not as much green in them, so they don't photosynthesize as well. but they are really pretty while they last. If you need, I don't know about Q, but if you need one for X, I've got one for X. I just can't pronounce it, but I've got it on my shelf. Y would be yucca, right? You can do a yucca. The other Aglaonema I have is a really big green leafed Aglaonema. They're dark green leaves with like white margins. And it's really pretty. It's just, and it's big. I just don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it. I'm just waiting. Xerographica, that would work. But isn't Xerographica still in Tillandsia? Or is that actually like a separate thing? I don't know. I was thinking, it's called Xerocissios, I think is kind of how you pronounce it. Did I publish a video on Xerocissios? Anyway, it's a succulent that has little round discs as the leaves or whatever. It's actually pretty cool. Xerocissios. It's Spanish, I think. Sylph has a baby yucca from seeds from a neighbor's yard. I never understood yucca. Like, I never understood, like, in the grocery store, you see that they've hacked off the top so that it, like, branches out. But I'm like, then how does it keep growing? I don't know. Like, what is the end game of it, you know? What? There was another plant I was going to grab from my succulent shelf, and I don't remember what it was. Oh, the Lampranthus. That's what I was going to grab. Quercifolia. That sounds so familiar. Is that ficus? Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I knew it was Ficus pumila. I just never understood because it's also called quercifolia, but so then my question for you two is that if you've had a ficus, you know, quercifolia, like how has it been compared to a regular Ficus pumila? Like how does it compare in care? The frogs, what do they call it? Do they call it string of frogs? Versus the regular pumila. Respond to that, and let me grab those two plants off my succulent shelf. Okay. It's a very thin vine that can stick itself to glass. It's fine in terrain but dies without good humidity. Okay. Well, the only reason I ask is because you could make the same case for Ficus pumila, but like I've been babying my Ficus pumila and it's doing well outside of a terrarium. But okay. Well, then it'll probably be something if I ever see it. I might get it if it's cheap, but you know. We were talking earlier a little bit about this one. This is Xerocissios. Like I said, it's just kind of a fun little succulent that has rounded leaves on it. And these will trail once they get long enough. They'll start to trail. This is actually, It's actually been pretty reliable. Like I haven't lost any leaves off of it or anything like that. And it's just been kind of doing its thing. It's a pretty plant too. Um, no roots coming out the bottom. That's good. And then I have this. It does actually look. Yeah, Mav. It looks very similar to Hope peperomia, which I think is Peperomia rotundifolia. But this is a lot easier to take care of. Like I didn't have much luck with the Hope peperomia. I didn't have any hope with it. It does look like eucalyptus too, I guess. And this is that Lampranthus. And it doesn't look like it would be bonsai-like at first, but once you kind of get, like, once you look a little bit deeper and kind of see it, once it gets bigger, it's going to be more bonsai-like. This one is just getting kind of unruly. I probably need to prune it back just a little bit. Actually, here's a piece that looks like it wants to come off. Yeah, like I could probably actually propagate this little piece and just let it harden off a little bit. But the thing I don't like about Lampranthus is that they kind of get, as they get new growth, like some of the old leaves, like see how there's like that little, you guys can't see it, it's so small, but there's just like these extra little pieces of brown leaves and crap that come off that are kind of messy. But I still prefer this over Portulacaria, which just, Portulacaria is a mess, but that's okay. But you can see like the inside of the plant has some of those brown leaves and stuff in it that just they're kind of hard to pull off too, so I just leave them. But yeah, I'll probably prune this in the spring. I just like how big and full it's gotten. And the leaves on it are interesting, how they're kind of notched and everything. I know it's kind of hard to see that. You see that gnat flying around here? But yeah. Let me see. Eucalyptus vine. Is it Tetraphylla? There was another one. Maybe it wasn't Peperomia that was called rotundifolia. I don't remember. But I thought it made sense because I'm like, oh, well, it's round, right? Yeah, yeah. Oh, I just squeezed that, and boy, a lot of liquid came out of that. That's crazy. Have you guys ever dissected, like if you lose a leaf or something, have you ever like cut one open just to kind of see the interior? Like I've done that on jade plants and stuff. It's actually kind of interesting. If you're not going to use the leaf for anything, right? What I'd really like to get at some point is just kind of a low grade microscope and start doing, some like tissue investigation, I mean, I studied some of that in school, but it's different when you can actually do it yourself, right? Like Mav says, hope grows in leaves in bunches of 3 or 4, and nodes are closer than rotundifolia. Oh, okay. But they are both peperomia, so then I wasn't totally crazy. Sorry, we're literally like looking at these leaves right now. Oh, I've made such a mess on this table, but that's okay. So then here's another question. How do you guys feel about the possibility of more videos around plant science? We've done so many care videos, and there's still some other things related to that I want to do, but there's also like some plant science stuff I'd like to, a lot of people don't get exposed to that, or they don't have like a resource to like hear about that or study that. Oh, okay. Okay, well, then those are 3 votes for yes, along with the other people that have said that they want that. Christian, I may have missed your comment about Facebook. Did you say something about Facebook? Ooh, that leaf stinks. Ugh. You know, it's like, I just did that video. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah. Let me get back to you. Let me get back to you because I do still think I want to go ahead and make possibly the idea of a public channel so that, other people can do the same thing. And that would be a good way for me to share some of the documents I've been working on with you guys where I can just like drop them onto the channel. I don't really know if I can share documents through YouTube where you guys can access them. I may be able to do like Google Documents, but I don't know. Um, Also, I was talking about just writing a plant book with you, like actually an actual plant book. Why not? Maybe someday. Instagram, yeah, I need to look into Instagram. Like, let me figure out Instagram, and then we can look at that too. I mean, if you guys are Instagram users and would like to see stuff on Instagram, I can definitely go that route because I'm open, to different things. And I don't know. I think Instagram came like right after, you know, I was already locked into other social media, and yeah. And then Steven says that might pair well with an updated video on propagation highlighting the different ways plants reproduce and grow. Yes. Um, I am kind of going back and seeing some of the videos I've done and doing some upgrades to them. Don't worry, Leaf Year. It won't just be Instagram. I'll do Facebook too. Okay. Yes. Yes. Because I did that plant video on like Houseplant Care 101, and I was kind of cautious about using too many big, like, botanical terms. And, there's just certain things that, like, are just fun to know. Plants, for example, plants in general are phototropic, meaning they move towards the light. Um, Plants are gravitropic, meaning if you knock a plant over, it's going to grow up away from the ground, like it's still going to find a way to grow up. Plants are autotrophic, they make their own food. We, people, animals, are heterotrophic, meaning we have to ingest food, like we have to find our energy from external sources like that. Um, just interesting little things like that. Those are fun things to share, and actually things I remember from school. Uh, yeah, Steven, there is an Instagram link. I just haven't been on it. It's one of those things that we started, and I just haven't gone that road yet. So I guess it does exist, but I just haven't updated it. Leaf year, there's no such thing as good enough or bad enough. If you have a plant that you're proud of and that you like, just show it. Just share it because other people will like seeing it. And then Sylv says vines are my plant's thigmotrophic, responsive to touch. Oh, well, especially think about a cool plant like mimosa. The sensitive plant where you touch it and the things close up. Or, well, Venus flytraps too, obviously. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and then you have plants like that, like oxalis, that respond um, to like light stimuli, how those close up at night too. Not all plants do that. Not all plants change like that, but a lot of them do. I mean, prayer plants do technically, I suppose. I'm gonna set this someplace out of the way. Oh. What else are you guys curious about as far as like plant science goes, because there's different branches, you know, that we can go down. You know, we can go down the anatomy route and, you know, talk about like different plant parts. We can talk about, you know, physiological processes, which would be like photosynthesis. We can talk about taxonomy. You know, we're really, I've noticed a lot of people on this channel are really into taxonomy, which I love because I love taxonomy too. Um, Christian says ferns, mosses, and lichens. So you're going old school. Well, you pet Mercedes for us and you say hi. Um, right now, one of my cats is laying down, just kind of watching me, and the other one's feeding her face. But usually they come and make an appearance just because they get curious. But you know, Christian, talking about mosses, mosses are really interesting. There's just you know, it's really hard to identify specific mosses because they are so rudimentary as far as plants go. But there are literally tens of thousands of species of them, especially in Bryophyta alone, there are tens of thousands of species. But I don't know, other than a microscope, I don't know how they've been able to identify so many, but it's crazy. Fungi plus algae. Yeah, lichens are, they are symbiotic, I believe, with plants, right? If I'm not mistaken, so. I don't hate bromeliads, Christian. I just don't have a lot of experience with the bromeliads. We did we did the Cryptanthus and we did Tillandsia, technically a bromeliad. I just need to find more bromeliads that are interesting. Like the ones that you buy in the grocery store are just not that interesting to me, especially the ones that cut me with their serrated leaves. Um, Steven says exploration about old world and why plants develop colors other green. Okay. Why they develop colors other than green? That is a good question. I would have to look into that. I can tell you the chemicals that cause them to project those colors, but I don't know why they do that. So I will look into that. Still says the best bromeliad is pineapple. Agreed. High five. I love pineapple. Um, and then Leaf says, "Oh, man, me too. Sometimes they." Yeah, yeah. Oh, Ahmed says, "I'm curious about how some plants can be propagated via leaves and some need nodes." So I can answer that. I mean, we can still talk about that at a later point, but I can answer that right now. When a plant grows out of a kind of a one place, like a rosette, so peperomia, saxifraga, which is like the strawberry begonia, plants like that, they can propagate from a leaf. But when a plant grows out of a node, like on a vine, it needs that node to be able to make more leaves, to be able to make roots and make more leaves. I don't know if that answers it. That doesn't necessarily answer why, but that's the difference. That's the difference between those plants. And there's not a ton of house plants that come out of one place like that. I mean, there's a lot of plants like that in nature, but peperomia comes to mind, saxifraga, begonia, maybe? No, not begonia. Maybe. Christian says colors focus on certain parts of the spectrum. It's also protection from harmful rays. Not all colors from chemicals, but the physical way it grows. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just, it just depends on the plant. The same with variegation. Like we can't say that all variegation is the same because there are different types depending on what plant it is. But you know, it's easier. You know, we've talked about why the leaves change color, you know, on the trees when it's autumn because the plant stops producing chlorophyll, which is what gives plants their green color, and what's left is the other chemicals that are in the leaves. So like the yellow is from carotenoids, and the red is from anthocyanins. Mav says ZZ plant propagates with leaves. Does it propagate with leaves? I didn't know that. I guess because I didn't know that because most of the time when people talk about propagating ZZ plants, they just do propagation by division, where they can just take one of the little corms or bulbs or whatever you want to call them and just like start a new plant. That's crazy. I had no idea. I wonder why. That is bizarre. Well, I learned something new today. Okay, so then yeah, begonia, it is begonia leaves. That's what I thought. ZZs propagate from leaves? That's crazy. I'm blown away by that. Well, clearly the leaf rule doesn't just apply to the growing out of one spot. Oh, yeah, ZZ plants grow so slowly. It's obnoxious. I mean, they can live a really long time and they can get pretty big, but like it takes them forever to grow. Croton plants, croton, that is, yeah. Codiaeum, right? Uh, and then Mav says it grows a rhizome at the base of the leaf cutting first. Oh, okay. Okay. Stem is at the base. Well, and you know that goes back to I don't know if you guys were here earlier when we said the term totipotent. Resume where we left off. Oh, ugh, crap. Uh, oh, let's see. Can you guys hear me? Are we good? Ahmad has such good eyes, and he sees my fake holly that I have on my chandelier here. Okay. I am sitting at my kitchen counter so that my phone can charge. I actually saw that it was low earlier and forgot about it, and like I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. So I'm impressed. Let me get adjusted here just a little bit. Let's go up like this. Aha, haha. Okay. There's a delay. Like when you say there's a delay, what do you mean? Oh. Try refreshing your page and see if that fixes it. We're testing. We're adjusting. We're fixing it. do. I don't have the audio turned on my laptop, so I can't like verify that. So I kind of count on you guys. But okay. Fixed? Okay. I had to refresh mine too because on my laptop, I have my laptop going so that I don't lose your guys' comments, and it helps me see, like, make sure that everything's functioning the way it should. And it was still frozen even after I resumed the stream, so whatever. But refreshing it fixed it, so that's good. Tissue culture. Okay, yeah, tissue culture is not something I've studied a ton about, like at least not in the terms of like on the houseplant setting. But tissue culture is really interesting. It's amazing what we've been able to do through excuse me, through that. Like, yeah, even grafting, that's another thing that's kind of interesting to me. Like when you have like those cacti you can graft together and it completely changes the color. Like, I don't know, that stuff's, it's just, science is bizarre like that. Um, since I'm up here at the counter, I will show you, this is what I'm keeping my maidenhair fern in, you know, hoping that it does okay. But it's something, it's enclosed, so hopefully it does well. Maybe. Ooh, it's cold up here. Hmm. Okay. There's really a video in general to be made for like the houseplant like retail side of it, which I mean I have some experience with and some knowledge with. I did not know about the radiation thing. I know that greenhouses will force blooming on some plants just to get them to sell, which I mean, is a little bit of a misnomer because then people think they flower like that all the time if they don't know. Like, not everybody that buys a plant knows what they're doing, right? They don't know everything about that plant. So it can be a little deceptive. Or when they sell those cacti that have the fake flower on them, that's so stupid. Like, I can't tell you, like, a lot of people who don't know about that have been like, well, that's not a real flower. Like, no, no, it's not. I mean, not only is it hot glued on there, you know, it's like cacti don't have like bright purple flowers like that. Just so annoying. And the hot glue like stunts the way they grow too. It's just, ugh. And then you try to tear it off and it rips part of the cactus with it. It's bad news. Yeah, the painted ones. I mean, there's no helping that, right? I don't think you can wash that off. Maybe you can. They still do it sometimes still. I don't know if they're straw, but they're fake flowers. No, Ahmad, if we're talking about the same thing, they've actually been deliberately painted. So they're green underneath the paint, but I don't see those come through Walmart very much, fortunately. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, you know, it's a problem, but it's not like a problem that's super widespread. Hopefully, if people see that, they complain. You know what I mean? Oh, is it a dye? Okay. Exposure to radiation, I didn't know that. You know, it's funny, Leafier, that you say that, plant torture. Like, one of the most poignant moments in like my study of plant science in college, I had a professor that was telling us about how in order to like clear certain trees, they will actually cut into the trunk itself, and they will do like a circle around the circumference of the trunk, and they'll cut into the the xylem and the phloem, which inside of a plant, the xylem and the phloem are responsible for water and food transport. And it basically, when you cut that off, well, then eventually the plant dies. And he he had said, he's like, you're basically torturing the plant. And I was just so like taken aback by the way he said it, because he's a science professor, and he just he had this empathy there when he said it. I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like it was a really deep moment for me, I guess. Oh well, yeah. I mean, it can't be the coloring can't be good for it, right? Like, and how many of those do they even really sell? Like, how many do they sell like that? Like, even just regular succulents that don't have paint. I mean, you don't sell a ton of them. Really? Oh, that's so silly. A lot of orchids have dye injected into the bloom. Hmm. Well, Stephen, then let me ask this question. Like, I've seen orchids that are a really beautiful, like, blue color or like an indigo color. Um, is that going to be something that they've injected dye into? Blue is fake. Okay. That's kind of what I figured. Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, orchids especially. Not necessarily everybody knows a ton about orchids anyway. Oh, Leafier, that's interesting that you also collect minerals. I've noticed. I've noticed, like when I've gone to places that sell stones and stuff, that they'll have like geodes, but like the insides of them have been colored somehow, like they've been dyed, which is sad. That I mean, it'd be cool if things were actually that color, but yeah, I mean, the quartz is usually just in a few colors. I don't have a crystal ball. I have a couple pieces of snowflake obsidian, just because it's pretty and supposedly it's for protection or whatever. But also the word obsidian is just kind of cool. Isn't that interesting though? That like, isn't it interesting that like sometimes we're so attracted to like the name of things. Like I know that I've bought certain plants just because of the name of them, and which is not like the best reason to buy a plant. But then there's plants like African violet that are beautiful and interesting and unique, and the name is Streptocarpus, which just sounds like some sort of illness you get in your finger or something. Like I don't know. Ahmad says viral crystal mugs from Timu are plastic and don't look like the ads. That figures. And Leafier says, I don't get into the crystal energy thing. I just like the geology. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, geology in itself is interesting. Um, I mean, there's overlap there, obviously, but yeah. Mm, the only one, The only one that I've gotten just for the name specifically, I mean, some of them I've gotten and then I figured out what it was and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool name. But the only one I actually got for the name was Alternanthera. Because Alternanthera as a plant actually sucks. And I don't have one right now just because they are almost impossible to keep alive. But, and they're small and yeah. Xerographica, yeah. Booby cactus. Booby cactus is a is that in the genus Myrtio cactus, I believe. Leafier says I have so many plants after my own name because they were gifts. Yeah. Yeah. Moi? My influence? What have you gotten because of me? Also, I don't know if I've ever gotten a plant as a gift. I mean, I've gotten plants at like funerals, but like, I don't know that I've ever been gifted. Well, no, that's not true. I do have a friend that got me a couple of cuttings once. Um, but like an actual, like, big plant. My nose is starting to stop up. Jade plants aren't bad. I mean, crassula, but they're pretty common. I don't prefer them. Like if we're talking about crassulaceae, like if you're wanting something in the well, no, hang on. Well, yeah, the family crassulaceae, but the genus crassula, there's other species besides just the regular, what is it, Crassula ovata is like the regular jade plant. But there's one, is it called string of buttons? I forget what the actual species name is. It's the one I have. I don't know. Well, no, you guys can't see it. It's blocked by the thing, but. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Microsorm, yeah. Well, that was a good choice. Portulacaria, well. I'm glad you were interested enough by it to buy it, but Ahmad says, I've given away poles and poles of aroids after chopping them back. That's crazy. I'm pretty sure it's called string of buttons, if I'm not mistaken. Sylph says, my employer gave me a big peace lily when I was very ill in the hospital. I mean, I don't know. I thought peace lilies for when like somebody died. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. If somebody gave me a peace lily if I was sick, I'd be like, do you think I'm dying? Like, what's going on? Oh, okay. Um, Picton tricolor. Let me grab this here. Let me look up. Let's see. But tricolor. Picton tricolor right there. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Those of you kind of, oops, wanting to see without having to look it up yourselves. So I saw one of those yesterday, or maybe it was Wednesday or Thursday when I went to Kansas City, and I considered getting one, but it was like $30 for a cutting that had maybe 4 leaves on it. And as beautiful as it is, I'm just like, no. Like if it was a bigger, like more established plant, I probably would have bought it. But yeah, they look identical to camouflage, and it really does look fake. Like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. Wait, Christian, you're saying I got two based on your recommendations? I know I got the Cryptanthus. That was you. I don't remember what the other one was. You remind me. Close that, close that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Um, that's okay though. Like it's still made for a good video, and it was still something that I didn't I didn't know about. So Christian's talking about Oceaniopteris, which is like it's a miniature tree fern. It's not the actual tree fern that grows in like Australia, but it's like relative to that. And I got one. Well, maybe it's been like a year ago. I mean, I know I was living here, but I just like it's a little more complex of a plant to take care of. And it's so funny that I happened to find it like not long after he mentioned it, and I haven't seen any for sale since. Like the other places I've gone to, not seen them for sale. So they're not super common, but it was still neat. Still need to own one. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, it is something that, like, if you wanted to set up some sort of like prehistoric display, that would be like the perfect plant to put with it, along with like some sago palms, these things that look really ancient because they are ancient. Like, they're very, very old plants. Well, leaf year, I mean, if you think you can keep one alive, by all means. They're just difficult because yeah, like Christian just said, the watering and the humidity. The humidity is what will probably get you if you don't keep it in a terrarium. Just because the leaves are so fine, they kind of tend to dry out very, very easily. So yeah, and that's what I did. I mean, I just bought one. It was like $4 or something, and you know, if it doesn't make it, it doesn't make it, and I just stuck it in that little thing. But I really just wanted to make a video about it because there was just a few there's just a few plants that I needed to cover before we finished up, and that was one of them. Um, I'm trying to think of what else I haven't done a video on, but yeah, begonias, believe it or not, are easier. Even begonia rex, which is still fairly fussy, is easier than a maidenhair fern. Ahmad says that his mom used to have them for years. She puts them outside and watered every day. I've seen them get big. I mean, I've even seen them for sale big, like bigger, but I just know that they probably came in like that and that they probably didn't stay that nice for very long. No, 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 nothing like that. Outside in Texas, no. Even here, even here, it's in like the central U.S. It's not great. Like the plants that I put outside are ones that I know are going to put up with a little bit of punishment, um, that need that bright light, but that also don't mind that it's humid, but that doesn't rain a lot. I mean, obviously I go out there and water them, but I had a jasmine, and that jasmine just dried up so fast, and it's unfortunate. I mean, I kept it alive for probably about a month, and then the August heat and sun was just too much, and it bit it. But yeah, are you talking about like the poles and stuff, or the rafters? Yeah, the beams. It was like this when we got it. I will say that like the the thing I would like to change, if you guys notice back here, these are my viable windows. These are the only ones, and it's like a double. I'll just lift it up. It's kind of like a double door that goes out to the back patio. And the problem is that those drapes look like the drapes you'd find in a funeral home. And I'd kind of like to replace those, but drapes are really expensive. Honestly, I'd like to get some that are automated so that like they open up at a certain time and they close at a certain time. But yeah, I'm sure those drapes have been there since the 70s when this place was built because they are ugly. But the house itself is really nice. And they did a good job other than the drapes. Yeah, Steven, you'll get some good plants out of stuff like that. That Lampranthus I showed you guys, that actually came out of a succulent arrangement that I got. Was it at Home Depot? Could have been. Um, and it's just you get like such a good variety of plants in just a little pot. You know, I've thought about remodeling a little bit and trying to do some of that, but remodeling is very expensive, and I just don't think we're gonna live here super long. Like I think that, within the next year or two, we might look at buying another house just because I don't know if you guys heard earlier, I live in an HOA. And the HOA itself is fine. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it's just a little expensive. Like the HOA fees and the property taxes and everything, it's expensive. And it's just a little out of our price range. So, yeah, I just don't want to invest any like big remodel money into a place I'm not going to live very long. What? I hear you. Yeah, see, I've heard horror stories about HOAs, like that they're really finicky and this, that, and the other, and that's probably true, but I haven't had really any trouble. Oh, whoa, you almost knocked down everything. Hello. Hello, my goodness. Okay, okay. Hi, hi. Can you say hi to everybody? This is Spice. Hi, Spice. Hi, Spice. She's like, why did you grab me? Okay, go. Go, go, go. Um, what were we talking about? HOAs. Mine's decent though, luckily. What? What are you doing? Um, a Hobbit house. That would actually be pretty cool. Um, industrial grow lights from those beams. Yeah, there you go. Just hang them from the beams, and the whole house will be well lit, and it'll be like a greenhouse. Wes would never allow that. With Spice Girl. Well, whichever one whichever Spice Girl was the moody one, because Spice can be very moody. She's one of those cats where she's like on her back, oh, come pet me, and then I'll pet her for, you know, a little bit, and then out of nowhere she'll just go and just like latch on, like I'm done. There you go, Scary Spice, perfect. That's what she is. Um, yeah, so Ahmad, originally we adopted these two girl cats because I wanted a girl cat. We had two boys at the time, and I wanted a female. And we ended up finding a bonded pair that were being sold together. And so I'm like, well, I guess we're bringing two home. And so, yeah. But I didn't like the names, Sugar and Spice, because I thought that was, I don't know. Like Spice isn't bad. Sugar is just kind of a weird name for a cat. So we tried to rename them. They were 5 years old, and the cat that was Sugar is now Athena. And if anybody's watched, you know, some of my videos where the cats show up, Athena is my calico, and she's the sweetest, most adorable thing. I see why they called her Sugar, but she loves to be called Athena. Like that's just her name now. And but Spice, she didn't like it, so she's still Spice. She's looking at the screen right now, and she's just like disgusted with it, I think. What are you doing? What are you doing, huh? Dude, Bentley and Mercedes. I like that. She is. She is so moody. Like she can be the sweetest thing, and she'll like get under the blanket with me, and she'll cuddle with me, and she'll like knee on me and like lick my neck sometimes. I don't know if she's trying to nurse or what, but then she will just, she has such an attitude too. Ah, kitten cat. That is cute. Do I have any Kit Kats in the fridge? That sounds really good. I want a Kit Kat. Hi, baby. Hi. Oh, are you going to be nice and come see me? Hi, baby. Hello. Kirsten, I'm not going to bed now. You know I stay up late. Hi. Do you see yourself there in the on the computer? So, actually, though of course this has nothing to do with plants, but like the funny thing about the two girls is that they love to watch the computer screen, because sometimes I'll play videos for them of like lizards going across the screen, and they just latch on to that for some reason. Like they just, so she's waiting for me to turn on the lizards, I think is what she wants, but um, not happening. She'll just attack the screen too. Let's see. Okay. Yes. Oh, you're being such a nice girl right now. You're being so nice. Come here. Oh, come here. I know. Oh, come on. Hi, baby. Look at you on the TV, right? She's like, who is that beautiful kitty on there? Who is that? Okay, jump down. Jump down. Kristen says, I'll get your response notifications at like 3 a.m. or 4. That sounds like me. I work, my schedule now that I'm not a manager anymore is like I go in at 1 and I get off at 8. So because I don't go in until 1, I usually sleep in until it's basically time to go to work, which means I stay up pretty late. Because I've always been more of a night owl. Like night is when it's kind of quiet and I can get other things done that maybe I can't get done during the day. So yeah. Let's see. Are females easier than males? Mine are both males. Some critters for spice. Thank you, Leafier. She likes, well, I don't know if she's ever seen butterflies, but I know she likes birds and squirrels. Males are easier but less vocal and usually don't hunt. Yeah, I would say it maybe depends on the cat. It maybe even depends on the species of cat too. Like some species are more vocal than others. Um, like Spice is a huntress. Like she, so when we lived in our other house, we had a basement that they would get lizards in it for some reason. Maybe that's why she likes the videos. But like, she would bring up a lizard in her mouth and like drop it in the floor, and she wouldn't kill it. Like she would just like, here you go, here's this present, and I'm just like, okay. So then I would put it outside, and she'd end up bringing another one. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe we should make a cat channel. But yeah, no, cats, they all have their little eccentric personalities, and I think that's why a lot of people love them. I mean, I love dogs too. I just don't have any because my only gripe with owning dogs is that you have to take them out and walk them, and I'm just like, I'd rather just scoop crap out of a box, you know what I mean? Like, especially when the weather's like this. I don't want to take a dog out in this weather. But see, growing up, I lived out in the country and we could just let the dogs outside and they'd run around for a little bit and then they'd come back. I need a drink. Goodness. Building a catio. There you go. That's what we need. We need a catio. Well, all right, you guys. It's like 11 here, so I'm gonna jump off here. I need to switch over my laundry and do a few other things, probably clean up my mess. But Wes, if he's not in bed, he's probably getting close, so I will go see him for a little bit. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I know we were here for a while, but you know, it was fun. I had fun. Hopefully you guys did too. And I'm gonna get some more videos made for you guys this week. I'm off Wednesday and Thursday, so I'll probably do some recording then. My next video coming out, I believe, is a plant care video, maybe, but we'll see. Christian, good night. It's good seeing you again. I will let you know about Facebook and the email. Steven, oh, he didn't drop the video in. I'll post a link. I'll post a link somewhere. We'll get that video taken care of. Good night, Leaf here. It was good seeing you. Sweet dreams. Ahmad, good seeing you as well. Thank you for coming. Just reenact it? No, not happening. I can hold a tune, but I can't sing super well. I'm more of the, you know, the instrument player. I play piano and stuff like that, but maybe I'll play piano one day for you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Looking forward to doing this again, probably in a couple of weeks. And until then, I will see you guys soon. Thank you. If I can figure out how to stop this stream.